This episode is brought to you by Triggered 22 LLC, a veteran-owned apparel company. By purchasing a t-shirt, hat, or hoodie from Triggered 22, you're not only supporting a small business, but you're bringing awareness to veteran PTSD and suicide. Please help save the lives of those who fought for our freedoms. Visit triggered22.com now and place your order. Let's help those suffering from invisible wounds.
He did the scene with Matthew McConaughey and Bradley Cooper, and it was before Bradley Cooper took off. Like, that was one of his early stuff. He did the scene. Yeah, made more money than I ever made acting in New York.
Welcome to the American Grown Podcast, hosted by Austin Sullivan. The American Grown Podcast will focus on people from different walks of life and their journey to where they are now. Now, turn up your volume and settle in for a great episode.
Hi, I'm Austin Sullivan. This is the American Grown Podcast, recorded inside the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Today, we have Erik Soulliard, filmmaker and owner of Annubis Productions. Erik, welcome to episode 58 of the American Grown Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so glad we can finally get together on this. I mean, I feel like you were busy or I was busy and I had to cancel, and here we are.
Yes, schedules are a tough thing.
Yeah, for sure, especially with kids. As you know, I have a 1-year-old and you have 2 boys, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they keep you hopping.
Because I'm trying to remember how to find out about you. And it was a piece of media that you were doing on Facebook. It was a video, because you're big into video, for Ed Felty. And it was your, We Are Lebanon project, and he owns the Allen Theater. So I was talking about that. And I just loved the look of how you shot it, how clean everything was. And I just liked the whole lighting and everything. So I was like, this guy's pretty cool. Like, he's doing some neat stuff around Lebanon County. And then, later on, my family business, Colortech, we used to do some work with your wife, Nancy, at Messiah University. She was a creative director there.
Yes, yep.
For, I believe, quite a few years.
Yeah, we moved back to Pennsylvania in 2009, and I believe it's been 1 year, actually. So she was like 12 years, I think. She started as the senior designer, I think, and then moved up to creative director in like the last 7-8 years or something.
That's phenomenal.
Director. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, so and then, through her, I got to meet Dwayne, who's at the university print shop there. They have an in-house print shop, and now she's no longer at Messiah. We were just talking before we started recording. She's at Select Medical.
Yes, she's the creative director for Outpatient.
Okay.
The outpatient side of things. And she's been there a little over a year now, and she's loving it. So,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I want to mention too, for the listeners, check out the photos on Facebook and Instagram, American Grown Podcast. I love how you're wearing the headphones. You're the first person to wear it like you're like, I'm not taking the hat off. Sometimes I wear a cap. I don't have my baseball cap, but I like your style.
Well,
I do.
When I shoot for myself, and sometimes I run audio while I'm shooting, sometimes we have an audio person, but there was a clash of hatwear, headwear, and microphone, and so I figured this is just what I got used to, because I don't know, like you yourself, I see, are follically challenged, so you understand
we go to the same barber.
The problem,
Mr. Clean, we have Mr. Clean look. I do understand. I do.
So I don't, and I was like, as I got older, I was like, no offense to the people that pull off hats at whatever age, my dad still rocks the baseball hat, but I was just at one point like, I just didn't feel like baseball hats anymore, and I was like, so I went with this one. And then sometimes people give you squirrely looks, but life's all right now.
Yeah, you gotta rock it.
But you can't. What sucks is, though, a baseball hat, I could totally like put headphones on over it.
Yeah.
Where this one, I was like, the first time I was like, oh, this hat's screwing me. You know what I mean?
Right.
But also, I mean, honestly, it's more of a practicality thing, because it's not sexy to say, but dude, when you don't have hair, you sweat. And like, you don't realize like your hair is like a mop that like soaks all that up.
It
and
is.
Like, dude, when you're on a set and there's lights and there's this and there's that,
hot, yeah.
A lot of times I do like a bandana, like a do-rag under this, and then I put a hat over it, because I look really ridiculous in just a do-rag. Like, that doesn't work at all. Like, so I put my hat on, and then you're not like, you don't look like you're melting.
Oh, I know the struggles.
But then when you take off the hat and the do-rag, and I try to put ears on, then I'm sweating all over the place. Yeah, it's a
thing.
It's the struggle.
Not everybody gets the privilege of trying to figure that out, but I know what you're talking about.
It's one of those, like, I think people look at me sometimes, they're always like, oh, he likes weird hats. It's not really. It's more of a necessity. I always say to people, bald people need hats.
Yeah,
and they're
you just
like,
do.
oh,
Yeah. I have one for work I wear when I go out on the road, especially around the wintertime. And I've got some comments from clients or the receptionists, the gatekeepers. They're like, you look like Indiana Jones, because it's like an Indiana Jones style hat. And I was like, well, it keeps my head warm. You know, it serves a purpose. And yes, let's get into this interview. Let's get into it. Let's get some background on yourself. Did a little bit of research. You filled out the form to be on the podcast. I mean, you're an actor, an editor, writer, and director. But let's start like from the beginning.
Honestly, it's funny. I was just at Cornwall Elementary School yesterday.
Okay.
My son goes there. And I was talking to the principal. And so it's ridiculous, but it actually just happened yesterday. They were talking. They're trying to figure out how to upgrade the stage. Cornwall, I don't know if you know, has this an amazing old stage. Wooden stage, like wood, like. It's amazing. It's an all like it's a whole auditorium with a second tier. Like,
okay,
it's really cool, and it's been like that since ever. Because when I was there, they used to do these amazing plays. They had a teacher called Mrs. Marks, and she would put on these amazing shows with the kids. And I'm not like people literally were like again, they're not Oscar worthy. Well, yeah, that wouldn't even be Oscar, but you know what I'm saying.
Right, what you're saying, yeah.
They're not Broadway. For the kids, I mean, they put so much heart and soul into them. They were literally like fun, and like people always were like, oh. So yada, yada, yada. In first grade, I ended up in one of those. And then in fifth grade, the big deal was fourth and fifth graders got the good parts.
Okay.
And
so first grade, you're like the tree or the stump or the rock or something?
I think, like an elf or something.
Well,
like I got picked to be an elf.
Yeah.
And I think I actually got to hang out with like the main character kind of thing.
Nice.
So it's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
And that I just loved. And then in fifth grade, I got to be the Tin Man. And they had this crazy suit with it. And it was awesome. And I was a pretty fly break dancer back then.
Okay.
Breaking was out. It was new to the movie. Like, it was pretty dope. And so I got to do like break dancing as the Tin Man. And I loved acting. Like from there on, I loved acting. It's what I wanted to do. I did some plays in middle school. I did some in high school. I wasn't the kid that was in every play. I didn't like musicals. I never liked musicals. No. And actually, the truth is, I don't like... Okay, so this is going to sound contradictory. I loved acting, but I hated plays. I hated musicals. I wanted to do, like, I always had a love for, like, film and television. Like, that was my bag. And I was that weird kid, like, on the bus where all the other kids were talking about, like, people's, baseball stats and football this. Mm-hmm. And my dad didn't watch sports at all. And the truth is, if he did, I don't think I would have cared. And I mean, but I could tell you like what movies were coming out that year, who was in them, like what shows were coming, who was in those, Like I used to get Entertainment Weekly, like when it was like a real magazine, it would tell
not
you
just
like,
on your phone or something.
No, there were no phones. I'm that old, And it was like, so I was like stoked, and I'd be like, yeah, Entertainment Weekly's here. That was always my bag. And so, then coming out of high school, I graduated from Cedar Crest. It was like, how do you do that? And I didn't really have the drive or like the know-how of like what to do next. Yeah. So I ended up kicking around at Cheney Seafood, I was telling you earlier. That was my first like real job.
Which for the listeners, that was across from where like Target is now. And I mean, McDonald's has always been there. But like some people don't know. And I just always, like we were saying before we started recording here, it had the Dr. Seuss fish, like the red and green and yellow fish. And they looked like the Dr. Seuss characters. As soon as you said that and described where it was, like the memory came back of like, oh my gosh, that's where it is. And we, you get like lobster, your clams or shrimp, which it seems odd being in Lebanon, a seafood.
It was
but it was good.
Their only competition, I believe, was Adelphia Seafood, if my brain serves, in Reading.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
A buddy worked there, and I graduated high school, and my dad went, get a job or something. Like, I'm not giving you money, and if you're going to be here, you're doing something. And I was like, all right. And he was just like, oh, dude, I work over here. They're hiring. And I was like, all right. So I started working there. And
what would you do there?
You start in the fillet room.
Okay.
That I remember, this is the best. You start in the fillet room, and that's basically the worst job because that's where in the morning they would prep everything and cut and slice and do all that, and then you were stuck cleaning all that up. Ooh. And then it wasn't too long, and unfortunately, for him, the dude that got me hired, I think he hit too many things in the truck because basically most of the people were drivers. Okay. So you'd help in the fillet room and get your trucks ready, but then you'd head out on the road. Well, he got taken off the road and put in the fillet room, and they put me on the road. So most of the time I was there, I was like a small box truck driver.
Yeah, I can picture it.
But you'd go to Lancaster, like there was a South Run, North Run, East Run, and yeah, it was not sexy, and you smelled interesting when you got home.
Oh, I bet.
I lived at home. My mom was like, as soon as you got home, you had to go in the basement and put my clothes in the washer.
Febreze or like
no, they got washed. Like my mom was just like that because I think I might have done the experiment of they sat for a day or two and it made like the whole basement smell like fish.
So you
like,
learned quickly. Get that in the washer and dryer.
It's an interesting career path.
Yeah.
And but actually, a guy that it was the owner's son, Jay Cheney. He encouraged me to go to Hack. And one day I came off the road on a Saturday and he sat me down and he goes, here. And he put a application for Hack in front of me. And he goes, you don't belong here. He goes, dude, just fill it out. And he was going to Hack actually for business classes. And he ran the business with his stepdad. And actually I did it. Like I respected him. He was a good dude. He was only like 3-4 years older than me. You know, I needed that. And so I went to Hack for 2 years. I got a degree in speech communication and I got my associates. And then I transferred to Millersville. I got my bachelor's in speech communications with a focus in when you could do like marketing or this or that. And I did broadcasting. Sorry.
Oh, okay.
So speech communication
with a
focus in broadcasting. Yeah. And I didn't know anything about college. So I was like, you know, you get a degree in what you want to do. And my plan was I was going to move to New York probably.
Okay.
And basically I thought, ooh, I have this degree so I can get a job like behind the scenes, but then I can do acting, you know, and I'll try to do acting, but then I can have a job behind the scenes. And actually my first year after Millersville, I re-met a girl I had dated for a month 6 years earlier. And 5 weeks later, we got married. So,
whoa, wait, what?
And that was Nancy.
This is Nancy? Wait, okay, so this is how you met Nancy?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I met Nancy.
Yeah.
And we had dated a month when she was like a senior in high school. And then it was like 6 years later. I wasn't looking to date anybody. Like I had dated this really nice girl for a while. Like she was just the nicest person, but it was one of those things that just didn't work out.
Right.
And afterwards you're just kind of like, I'm just good. But then I bumped into her and we hung out for like 5 weeks and then we just got married. And it'll be 24 years later.
Oh, congratulations. That's
Thanks.
awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's really
seriously.
cool.
That is awesome.
It's one of those things, thankfully it worked out. Praise God.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
literally,
yeah.
it was like, yay.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then, and she had just graduated from Kutztown with a fine arts degree and a degree in graphic design, I guess. It was one of those two or both. And so we ended up finishing my year at Millersville. And then she, in my end of my senior year, was applying to stuff in New York because like we both were like, yeah, we wanted to do that adventure.
City. Yeah.
It was something she was into and she knew like that's what I wanted to do. And God works in weird ways because like literally she had a job interview like a month before I graduated.
Okay.
And it was like I graduated and it was a month and a half, and she was just like, well, I guess I didn't get the job, but she had gone up. The job was at E&R Magazine, Engineering News Record. It was the oldest engineering magazine in the country, I think.
Oh, wow.
It was above 2 Penn Plaza, right above Penn Station.
Okay.
Right above Penn Station, the garden, right in front of the garden
right there.
And I graduated college, and they called her and said, we want you. You have to be here in 2 weeks.
Whoa.
So we went from Lebanon, and I grew up, to be honest, my parents are amazing. But Lebanon was a bubble. Like, Lebanon was definitely like...
Everybody kind of knows everybody, and it's a small knit community, or...
Big world scary.
Oh, right.
I would agree. Kind of that, small town,
Yeah.
This is cool. I mean, all my friends and I, Nancy still teases me. So when we first met, my parents lived off Oak Street over near Creekside. So she lived out in North Lebanon. It was like a 20-minute drive. Be honest, that was a long drive,
Yeah.
And to this day, she'll still tease me. 20 minutes was too far to drive.
Yeah.
And like if we went to Park City, my friends and I, that was like a day trip. We were like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
We're going to Park City.
Right, heading down to Lancaster.
Oh yeah, I was like, I just got to sleep in the night. No, like I go to bed early. I mean,
right.
And so like the world was a big scary place, and I left Lebanon only because. What I wanted to do wasn't available here. It just wasn't something you could do here. So that's how it kind of, so they were like 2 weeks, you got to be here. We went down, got a realtor, looked, one day, found a place, rented it, moved the next week.
Yeah, because you only had 2 weeks to get there.
Yeah.
And then, so you moved what was it, sometime early 2000, I think it was.
We were in 2000.
To North Jersey. To be closer to New York.
Yeah, so we ended up in Nutley, which if you watch The Sopranos, Nutley is featured, and Lyndhurst.
Oh, wow.
So it was Nutley, and right across the river's Lyndhurst.
You're like a soprano.
I was at the diners that were like in there.
Yeah.
Nope. Thankfully, I stayed out of that.
I was going to say, the mafia's not going to come after me.
They didn't pull me in.
Yeah.
But it was a really cool place. Super nice people. So we could get a train right down the road, or you could go to Lyndhurst and you hop on a train and then you'd go in. And it was like Nancy's commute was always like around 45 minutes. Like the city was like 45
That's not
minutes.
bad for New
Well,
York.
well, in the beginning, you had no. Like we worked with people I worked with a lot of people from Long Island. So I didn't get in the city right away. Nancy got the good job first. And then through college, I put myself through college working at Benelli Auto Sales up in Clayona. Actually, I knew Chris, who had Staley's Automotive in the rear, and me and him would buy and sell cars together. And I did that to like put myself, like after I started at Hack, I quit Cheney's. And I got with Chris in selling like, four-wheelers and dirt bikes. And then we were doing a buddy of mine, actually, Craig. I was doing it with him first. And so we ended up just wheeling and dealing four-wheelers and dirt bikes. It was fun.
Yeah.
And then I helped Chris open Staley's. And then I ended up working for Joe, his uncle, in the front, and I would detail cars. And then he'd let us sell our own cars through him. Like we had our dealer's license through him.
Oh, nice.
And so we would sell some off the lot. So through college, I would clean a car a week. On Saturday, he'd get a day off. I'd come in and clean cars. If someone needed information about a car, I'd do that. So when we first moved to New Jersey, honestly, like we moved like the economy was in the tank. So there wasn't like a lot of opportunity. And I realized I totally screwed up by going to Millersville because they were like useless.
Really?
Yeah. Like the one thing I learned is if you're going to go to school for something specific, if you're going to want to do something specific, go to a school that has connections with that. Millersville, and I shouldn't say this on podcast, but I don't care. Like they made promises that they definitely didn't know how to keep. And
like what?
Well, they had said, I actually went there first to talk to them. I'm like, this is what I want to do. I want to move to New York City. And the teacher the professor that talked to me was like, oh, well, we've had multiple students, in New York City.
Yeah,
we have a student
like hype it up
at MTV, we have connections there.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, cool. And
That's
I was
perfect.
Like, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's exactly it. Cool. So when it came down to getting an internship, I went back and I was like, cool. Like, hey, I'm going to graduate in here. Like, how do I do this? And they looked at me literally and they were like, we don't know like how they did it. Like they kind of did that on their own and they completely misrepresented like themselves.
Yeah.
Where actually I met so many people in New York from Kutztown, and Kutztown had an amazing program that like helped people place them, got them in internships and stuff. And I was just like, why didn't I go to Kutztown? So things you learn later.
Hindsight, right?
Yeah. And I've always said to people like, but again, having no family that really went to college, I just thought you get a degree, you get, hey, I have this degree.
Yeah.
Where I realized
and it opens up doors, Yeah.
It doesn't.
But it doesn't.
But I realized real quickly, people would go, where'd you go to school? I'd go Millersville. They go, huh? But if you went to like a Penn State, people knew Penn State. You know? Or like realistically, I did a lot of acting in New York, and I'll tell you that in a bit. But like those dudes, if you went to NYU, definitely open doors, you know, because it's just people, it's NYU. So, but yeah, so that was one of those things you learn as you go. Huh. But I actually, for the first year and a half or more, I would drive back just to make it work. I would leave Wednesday morning at like the crack of dawn. I'd come back and open the shop up at 9 for Joe. And then I'd clean a car Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I'd sleep on my buddy Chris's couch. And then I would drive back Friday after I got done. Usually I get home like 1 a.m. And then, but that was enough to just make, ends meet. And then, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, it was all just trying to do acting, trying to get job, like looking for a job, trying to send out headshots, figuring out the whole acting thing. Cause that was something I was learning from scratch.
Yeah.
So it was an adventure, but I was still had a foot in Lebanon for like a year and a half.
Wow. What a commute, to chase your dream. It's amazing what people will do. I mean, that's a lot of hours, a lot of driving,
I mean, but it wasn't too bad when you think about it because it was, I would leave New York early enough and I was going the wrong direction in the right way. So nobody was going away from New York.
Everybody's going in.
Yeah. So I had a clean sailing. And then when I'd head back, like Friday night, like it was no big deal because we lived near the Meadowlands. So if there was something going on at the Meadowlands, like you were hosed. Like if you get off the Meadowlands and like so Nutley was right up the road. And then we ended up buying a house 3 years later that was like just a little further up and over in Clifton, which was the Polish section, which was really cool because my wife's half Polish.
Okay.
And her grandparents, we were able to buy a house because we inherited a small amount of money from her Polish grandfather, who was a realtor in Philadelphia. He had his own business. And that's how we managed to get a house. And it just so happened we ended up in the Polish section of Clifton. And my wife was like, my Jaji's looking out for me.
It's meant to be. Yeah.
It was so cool. But yeah, so anyway, long story long, worked at Cheney's, did that.
Yep.
Then came back, and then eventually I got some temp work. And then the temp work moved in Jersey. Then I got temp work in the city. And then I ended up at CBS Broadcasting.
What was that like working, for CBS Broadcasting in New York? Take us through, like, what was day one? Were you the coffee guy? Because you see a lot of TV shows and movies, it's like, oh, the intern or the new guy's always getting the coffee and the donuts, or, go get this for lunch. What was it like?
Well, I never had a lot of luck getting into production jobs. Like, I didn't, and they're hard to get. And so when I first got to New York, what I found out was from people that knew, they're like, okay, so because I thought like I could get a job like as a grip PA, production assistant. That's the lowest you can be. I thought I'll get a job as a PA, hopefully make money that way, and try and do acting. And because acting, obviously, when you try to do acting, you're working for free for at least a couple years until you get
portfolio, right?
A little bit of like a reel, clips of what your work is, a reel. You build your resume, you meet people, you kind of get moving. You're going to do that for free. And then when I talk to people, they're like, okay, if you want to be a PA, here's how it works. You're going to work for free for about 3 years. Wow. And they go, if you're lucky, you'll start to get money around the 4th year. And I'm like, well, I might as well just focus on acting and do that for free. That's what I want to be doing. Yeah. And to be honest, there wasn't a ton of PA jobs. Like, I mean, I'm sure I could have gotten something if I was working for free, but it's not, again, like opening big doors that way. So I was like, if I'm going to work for free, I might as well pursue the thing I came here to do. Mm-hmm. So I ended up doing like the whole temp thing. And I ended up so when I ended up in New York, I first ended up for CBS. It's funny. So CBS has the mothership. I think it's 524 West 57th. And then on the other side of the street, it's called the BMW building because it's BMWs on the first floor, really crazy glass, the cars.
Yeah.
It's the BMW building where they sell BMWs. And then they had a couple floors up higher. I ended up there through a temp agency because I had a broadcasting degree, and I ended up in accounting because they were doing an equipment. They were going around trying to reconcile the books with all this equipment. So basically, they had me come in, and they were like, hey, you're going to help this lady, and we're trying to locate all this equipment that we don't know what happened to it.
Whoa.
So I was like, all right. And they were like, you know what a lot of it looks like? And I'm like, sure. And some of it I did.
Yeah.
And I was like, sure. And they're like, okay. And so when you say about where you started, they literally put me in a closet. Like, it was a closet.
Doing like inventory, looking up equipment and things like that.
I had a computer in a closet. I mean, there was like, they literally like made space. It was a closet. I mean, I had my own office technically.
Right, I was going to say, in New York, a closet space is like, a 3-bedroom house here in Lebanon, if you think about it.
But what's funny is I came in one day and I couldn't pull my desk in because my chair in because they stacked boxes under my desk. Word. And I was like, what is going on?
Thanks, guys.
Because I was literally in a closet. So from there, that lasted quite a while. And then from there, it shifted over. They said, I think actually right when it was going to end, they said, hey, there's a place in engineering at CBS. And I was like, cool. Because in my head, like you're saying, I was just like, CBS, like at least this is somewhat in my degree.
Right.
Hopefully I can get into something.
Everybody knows CBS.
Right. The funny thing is what I learned was, though, New York. So I like doing film and television. New York is not the place to go if you want to do film and television.
Oh?
No. Basically, at the CBS mothership, they did the news. They did BET shows there. They did, but nothing like scripted. It was all the live stuff. They did 48 hours, 60 minutes. I met Andy Rooney.
Oh, wow.
And I laughed so hard. He was super nice.
How was that? Yeah.
I met actually. I was dealing with his editor. Was very nice, and he was helping me with something. But Andy Rooney, I didn't meet. Like, I didn't like talk to him really. Like, I would see him though. Mm-hmm. And before when I got the job at New York, a guy I did the dude that was my DP on the Creek. He's like, if you see Andy Rooney, punch him in the gut. He goes, that guy drives me nuts. Yeah. And when he started laughing, and the first time I saw him, I just started laughing.
Punched him in the gut?
No.
Okay, good.
He was so old. Like, you were just like...
Frail?
Oh, yeah. Like, God love him. Like, a car would drop him off out front, and he would, like, hey, like...
Right, I can picture it.
And the first time I saw him, I just started laughing, because I was like, dude, honestly, you felt like he'd go to dust. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and I called my buddy. I was just like, dude, I just saw Andy Rooney. He's like, did you punch him in the gut? And I'm like, no.
No, that might kill him.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Like, But yeah, so they were like, it's in engineering. I said, cool. And they had me temping there, and I ended up being like an admin in engineering. And that was neat because I do like the technical side of things too. And like in school, I wrote a script, you know, we produced stuff, edited and stuff. So I was kind of like, you know, it was neat to see. I was there when they redid Letterman to HD from standard definition to high definition. And when I left, I believe they were shifting. It was when Colbert was taken over, and then they were redoing all that.
Everything.
And it was cool because to see, like, I would run over, they'd be like, oh, go over. Because the engineering would work with what they called the shop, and the shop would implement what engineering did. And so then they would design the whole studios.
Wow, the whole set and everything.
Oh, everything. Well, the sets were actually not them. So you'd have a set designer that did that, but they did all the wiring, the nuts and bolts, the equipment, you know, all the stuff, like all the bones of it was engineering. So they'd be like, they were there for months. I mean, working on that. And so it was cool getting to see that stuff. My boss gave me one of those pencils. I guess Letterman had those double eraser ones that he'd throw at the camera all the time. It really pissed my boss off because he was actually the dude that did the cameras. And he's like, those cameras are like $500,000. Yeah. And he's throwing pencils at him. And I was just like, well, he's Letterman. He kind of do that.
Yeah.
You know, like, but it was cool. Like CBS was fun, and they knew my deal, and they ended up hiring me like a year or two into temping there. But it was nice because I'd be like, hey, I have an audition at 2, and they're like, cool. And like, as long as you like did what they asked you to do, and I supported like multiple people, but as long as they did what you had, they'd be like, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? And again, it was admin stuff. Like, it wasn't complicated. You know, you're kind of just like, sure. And you do it, you hand it to them. And the funny part is, so to jump ahead a little just to say this, so I did the movie The Creek, and I did that when I was there. So I was acting for the whole time, and I did a lot of like independent stuff and things like that. And so when I did The Creek, which is my own movie, when I edited it, I actually edited half of it at work, and I would bring a laptop and a hard drive, and all the desks at CBS, you all have TVs because it's CBS, and they were always on, and you can only watch so much History Channel and stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And, but I would hook up my laptop and everything to that TV as a monitor, and I'd have my hard drive, and I'd sit there, and so my desk was an L, so I'd like be this way working, and then when I didn't have to do that, I'd turn this way and I'd just be editing. And like the one day I didn't realize it was loud enough, the one engineer came up and he's like, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, I'm sorry, man. I know it's loud. He's like, no. I just hear like someone screaming. I'm like, what's going on? Let me see. And he was like all into it. Yeah. He was like, and I think we were like killing Nancy in that scene. Like, she's like, no.
Oh, your wife was in it too?
Yeah, she was in The Creek. Yeah. Actually, she had done some light modeling and acting before when she was going to Kutztown.
Okay.
But she wasn't like her main drive. Like, it was one of those, if it would have taken off, she would have been like, this is cool.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like, and she likes to act and stuff, but it's not like her main thing. Like, she really does like design and what she does. So yeah, no. And I can tell you about that then. But so the story, because you said start at the beginning and go to there.
Yeah.
But so we ended up in New York for 9/11 and the blackout, which was different, and it shapes you a little bit. Yeah. And the 9/11 was obviously 9/11. I wasn't in the city that day. Nancy was. My super, who was amazing, he would always say your name. He was funny. Like, he was this Hispanic dude, and he'd always be like, yo, Erik, man, Erik, you got to come here, Erik. And I would come back and tell Chris and my friends, and they'd all start laughing. They'd be like, Lewis. And I was like, but that's just the way, dude. I love, people say, like, what do you miss about the city? I miss people. Like, I miss the flavors. Like, I worked with so many different people from so many different places. Yeah. You know, CBS, I worked with a guy from the Dominican Republic. He was from Puerto Rico, a girl from Dominican Republic, a dude from Barbados, a dude that came over from the Eastern Bloc, and he was the nicest man, but he spoke slowly.
Really?
Yes, he was Bogdan, dude, super nice guy.
Yeah.
Like, nicest dude you'll ever meet. And I met a dude though, actually from Lancaster, Mr. Byrne. He just messaged me the other day on LinkedIn, which was nice. He's retired now. But yeah, you met like all these flavors of people, and I love accents. I love, all that stuff. So yeah, Lewis was like, yo, Erik, you gotta come up on the roof, Erik, you gotta see this. So me and him went up on the roof of the condos where we lived, and like you could see the buildings. Like, from there it was like a direct sign and direct line of sight. And yeah, and you couldn't get a hold of Nancy. Phone lines.
I was gonna say, like, what were you thinking at that time with Nancy being in the city?
Well, and especially like she being where she was, that's like a main hub.
Yeah.
So you were like, I mean, it had to be second or third on their list, because if you shut down Penn Station, which is what her building's on top of,
Right.
or if you shut down
Right.
Grand Central, those are the two main hubs in the city. So, yeah, I mean, all you could do was pray, and you just kind of waited, and she got some emails out to me, and I think she got home at 9 at night that night. Like, she could finally get home.
Yeah.
And that was hard. Like, that changed. It changed the adventure, kind of. The city changed. Like, the whole city had a different vibe.
I was gonna say, what do you mean by that? Yeah. Like,
Well, the city went from like this kind of like land of possibilities, and and New Yorkers, like, everyone's like, oh, they're this, they're that, they're mean or they're. No, here's what it is. If you live in New York, you're taking mass transit. If you're in New York City, you're taking mass transit. If I miss that train, I'm getting home between 35 minutes and an hour later. So, especially if you're on like a Jersey Transit or Long Island, a subway even can be 15 minutes to a half hour, 45 minutes. So, like, people are moving because you're like, I got to get to that train. I got to get, but generally they're very nice. Like, and that's like, I had a person came up I knew, and he was trying to do acting, and I gave him directions, and I go, dude, when you come out of the subway, if you're not sure, just ask somebody. And he looked at me like I had four heads, and I was like, seriously, like, just ask him.
Yeah.
And he was like, and he came back later. He goes, I did ask somebody, so I was a little confused. And I was like, okay, cool. And he goes, and I waited till they walked away, and then I asked someone else to make sure they weren't messing with me. And I was like, dude, they don't have time to mess with you.
Yeah.
Like, I have no sense of direction. And this sounds horrible when I say it, but when obviously the towers going down was like insane. They were my guidepost, because wherever you were in the city, you could always look up and go downtown. Now I know where downtown is. Oh, this way is uptown. There's no other buildings that really you could do that.
Stood out in that
So
tall.
I would come out of the subway after that, and I just would be lost, because unless you walk a block to know, like, this is where I'm going. So I would always come out of the subway, and I'd be like, someone would be walking in front of me, and I'd go, yo, which way's uptown? And dude, they wouldn't stop, but they'd be like, that
Just
way.
point and keep going. Yeah,
they're
keep
like,
walking.
that way. I'm like, thanks, dude. And
Yeah.
then you take off uptown. And people are very nice. It's just, you're in a hurry,
Yeah.
It's a different lifestyle. And you're not in a hurry because you're like, I know back here I had this conversation with many friends, because they're like, oh, everyone thinks they're so important, And I'm like, no, they want to get home, like, you just, it's not here. When you grow up here, you get in your car. You're not used to.
It's 5 minutes or whatever it is to get home, whatever your drive is.
It's all train schedules,
Yeah.
And when I'd have auditions on the weekends and other times, what sucked was I'm not someone that likes to get somewhere an hour early, because I don't want to waste time. But you had to be careful, because if a train didn't come, like,
You're in
you
trouble.
could go from being 15 minutes early to like 10 minutes late real fast. So you were always like, I guess I got to leave like 45 minutes
That makes
early.
a lot of sense. Like, I feel like New Yorkers can sometimes be portrayed as, like you said, pushy or always in a hurry or just not always friendly, but it's like, that makes a lot of sense now. It's like, no, they just want to get home. They just want to keep their schedule, get paid and get home. Like,
It's just at the end of the day, dude, and it's just the way it is. And after 9/11, it got harder, because like they had checkpoints in places and bag checks. And the one time I shouldn't have had the tact I did, but I came out of the A train, and you come around, and then I had to like make a left, and you go up this hallway. I had like 3 minutes to catch my train, which was of course at the end of the corridor.
oh no.
And like, and you're moving, because you're kind of like, oh crap, I got my train. And like, there was a bag check, and they're like, sir, stop. And you were just like, son of a biscuit. You're like, no. And I was like, seriously, like, do I look like a terrorist? Which is,
it's like, check my bag. I got to keep moving.
and then so I was like, put the bag down, and I was like, and I love law enforcement. I mean, they're amazing. They have a tough job.
They do.
But it was hard in New York, because you really, like, you'd come out of subways, and there'd be like 10 to 15 that looked like they might be 20 to 25-year-old young men in SWAT gear with rifles.
Wow.
After 9/11. And it was just random. Like, I mean, it was a lot, and it was random. And you were kind of like, that's uncomfortable.
That is.
It was just, and to me, I thought it was a little ridiculous, because they were in the subways. I'm sorry, if someone got there, you're too late.
Yeah.
It's like, you kind of got to stop before that.
Way before that, hopefully. Yeah.
And like, our house was next to a train station. So they would actually, sometimes you'd see, or you'd go to get on the train, and you'd be waiting, because they'd have a bomb sniffing dog going through the train. But it changed the tenor in a different way too, where you all felt in it together. You know, like, and what is funny, like, so when we moved back, I was talking, so I had train friends, I called them, and there was people I just hung out with on the train.
Yeah.
And then there were some of them I would walk then, like we'd walk from Penn Station. So I was at 57th and 11th. So
Okay.
Penn Station brings you in at like 32nd Street, I think it is, and 7th. So we'd pop out the 8th Street side, we'd walk down 8th, and like the one dude would peel off at 50th, the other dude peel off here.
This
and,
is great. Yeah.
It was like fun.
Yeah.
And we just keep chatting, you know, hey, oh yeah, hey, have a good day then. And then one of my last days, I was saying to him, like, you know, like, I feel bad. I go, I know I'm a weirdo, but I mean, dude, I still, like, to this day, like, you just worry about, like, you know, like something weird. You see something, hear something, say something, you know? And it was funny because the two dudes I was with were really nice, and they're not the type of people, you know, like, in my brain, I did not think they were the type that would be, like, worried. Like, you know, they seemed like they were just another day.
Yeah.
And both of them were like, oh yeah, I mean, I hope to get out of the city at some point. This sucks. Like, it just because of that concern.
Yeah.
And you just didn't realize how it shaped people, and how that concern shaped people. And it was like, even up to that end point when I was leaving, like, I didn't realize it. You kind of feel like it's just you.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, when we were there for the blackout, I think the blackout was the way it was because of 9/11. The blackout was crazy because...
So, all right, you know, of course, I remember 9/11. I was, gosh.
Yeah, a lot of people don't remember the...
Third grade, but yeah, what's the blackout? So, like...
2003.
Okay, 2003.
I believe it was 2003. It was 2003. We had just bought our house. I think it was like in September, October. Something happened with the power grid. And at this time, I was at the BMW building with CBS. And so what happened was, I forget where it was. It was somewhere like middle America, and there was a back thing. And later at CBS, when I was talking to them, like, they had all backup generators.
Oh, yeah.
And somebody called them, and they were like, go on your generator. Like, and basically, it knocked down, like, multiple, like, big substations. And New York City, it was out. And it was New York, and there was another big city. I want to say, I don't know if it was Boston. It maybe was just New York. I don't remember. But New York City, like, so it was like 3 PM, and I was at my desk in my closet.
In your closet, okay.
I was in my closet where I belonged. And they were like, all of a sudden, everything just went dark, and the emergency lights popped on. And everyone was just kind of like, you know, and they're trying phones, and the phones weren't working, or some phones worked, some things didn't. And all of a sudden, they were like, everyone must leave the building.
Oh, God, yeah.
And we were like...
Terrified, probably. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, no one knew what was going on. And someone was like, they said there's a blackout. And I'll tell you, the weirdest thing is hitting the streets in New York City, and there's no traffic lights. Like, everything...
Oh, my God.
Like, you were like... It was the eeriest... Like,
yeah.
you know, definitely, like, you know, people like to watch zombie movies.
I love it. Yeah, Walking Dead, all that stuff.
It's like you hit the streets in New York City and there's no lights. You were like, this is uncomfortable.
Yeah, this isn't good.
And I was like, so I got a hold of my wife right away, luckily. Because the problem, too, is back then, and I assume it would happen now, when you have these emergencies, the cell traffic jams. And basically, you just get busy signals. And I luckily got through to her, and she was down at Penn Station.
Okay.
And she goes... She's like, they kicked you out of the building. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. And she's like, just come down here. Just get down here. And I go, okay. I go down 8th Street is how I would go down. 8th Street's where the bus terminal is. As soon as you hit 8th Street, there's a sea of people because people are a lot of people were just headed for the buses. Like, you know, trying to just anything. So as soon as you turn the corner, all the bodegas literally were just like locking all the gates, the security gates were all coming down.
Just bringing them down, yeah.
And in your head, you're like, is this going to be all right?
It makes it even more freaky. Now
you're
like,
thinking,
whoa.
like, well, obviously they know something. And so I got down to her building, and she, like, let me in. And because, again, it was almost like zombie apocalypse. Like, you know, you couldn't get in unless, you know, like, they weren't just letting anybody in. So, and it was like, I think it was like a September, but it was like hot. Like, it was a hot September. So I get in the building, we're there, we're hanging out. All of a sudden, like, her one bigger boss was, like, on the phone yelling at somebody. And he comes out, and basically they kicked us out of that building because that building her company rented floors on, and the place that owned the building was like, nope, everyone out. So we made like a caravan, and when we came out, it was crazy because people were just everywhere. Like, it was just literally like sitting in the streets, like in the sidewalk, everywhere, because there was nowhere to go, and we were literally at Penn Station. So people were like, well, if I'm going to get out of here, I got to get out through Penn Station.
Yeah.
You couldn't walk through the tunnels. So basically, it was a little bit of a game of Survivor. People made like tribes.
Okay.
And it was like, well, we live in Brooklyn.
Stick together. Yeah.
And they were like, okay. And a bunch of people walked back to Brooklyn. Like they walked over there's pictures, if you Google it, of the Brooklyn Bridge just full of people because they were just walking home.
Yeah.
And, the ferries ran for a little, but they were a hot mess. And then there were people from like Long Island, and they were like, all right, we're going to try to get home. So people kind of like banded together, and all of us New Jerseyites were like, well, and the people that were left, we all headed up to this other building, and you literally like were stepping around in between people's legs. And I was like, okay. And I helped this one lady who was super nice at work with Nancy. Like, she had trouble, wasn't as mobile. So I helped her, and this other guy, like, we helped her, and we got up to their building. And if I remember, it was around dusk. And that building, they ended up giving everyone those silver blankets, the crazy emergency blankets.
Keep you warm or whatever. Yeah.
And
like crinkle. Yeah.
And they put us in an auditorium. So people just like laid on the stage and stuff, and they emptied out they gave us a bunch of food because they were like, it's all going to go bad, like from their cafeteria or something, and we were all stuck there until 3 a.m, and then someone was like, the PATH train's running.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Let's get out of here.
Well, and it wasn't even the power issue. To some degree, I think when the power went out, then they had to like reset things. So
it took time.
Someone is like, around 3:30, someone was like, the train PATH is running, because at that time you had to take the PATH train to Hoboken.
Okay.
And from Hoboken, we would actually get a train into Hoboken, and then Hoboken you'd get a PATH train into New York, and that would drop you off like a block away from Penn Station. So we all, like, at 3:30 in the hiked down. We got the train, and what we did was the closest person lived at the Meadowlands, like just before the Meadowlands. So we all got a cab to her house.
Yeah.
And they gouged us for like $95. Like, it was something crazy to go like 6 miles. It was just something ridiculous. Jeez. And so then she took us to our house, and then we took the next people to like Edison. And like, I think we ended up going to sleep around 11 in the morning.
Oh my word.
And it was one of those adventures. And actually there's one of the writers, Gary Tulax, he was a super nice dude. So at that time I smoked here and there. He has a crazy funny blog about me and him like trying to get cigarettes, because there was this one place we found open that like had like lanterns up, and obviously you couldn't use credit cards. The whole story was everybody was like in it together, and I think because of 9/11, like that situation could have been like Escape from New York.
Yeah, could have been wild.
Or it could have been what it was. And it was actually like everyone just felt like this, like we're all in it together. There was no weirdness. I was never scared. I mean, you were scared in the sense you're like, well, this is pretty freaky.
Yeah,
like,
this isn't right. Yeah.
Yeah, but there was no like people doing things that you're like, oh wow, this is gonna go south.
Yeah.
Like you never had that. It was all just a bunch of people that were in a situation that were like, well, let's see, like, to make the best of it. And yeah, so we were there for both of those. That actually is probably really the reason why we moved home.
Okay, I was gonna ask, what did make you want to move back home? I mean, so 2009, you moved back home, still doing production work, but you're also the primary then caregiver of your two sons. So I want to talk about all that. So 2009.
I'm sorry, I tangent on you.
No, you're good. No, it's great. I mean, it's all very interesting.
And it is one of those things, you remember the things that touch your life.
Oh, for sure.
More.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely one of that. But we ended up moving home because like it was such a different lifestyle. And I say to people, when you move to cities, my personal feelings is there's two things that happen. You either arrive there and you're like, I'm home. Like if you grew up in like a small town and you go to New York City, you're like, yes, this is what I've always wanted. Or, I mean, actually there's three. There are the people that are like my dad. He'd come visit, and if he made it an hour or two in the city, you were lucky. Like he's just like, we can go now, But the second one was us, which is, it was fun. It was an adventure. We enjoyed it, but you kind of drink your fill. And there's a point where you're kind of like, I'm good. Kind of thing. Like, and it depends on the level of success you have, I'm sure, and other things. But at the same time, like, I never like would want to live in a city all the time or commute. The grind of like the train, the humanity. Yeah. Oh, the humanity, right? Like, it's like the humanity. Like, it just, it's
got to wear on you a little bit. Always being like on schedule. You got to make the train. Got to do this. Got to do that. Like,
and just all the people.
Yeah,
like it was nice coming back, and there just wasn't a lot of people. Like, you're not packed in with people everywhere, and it was easier. So when we first moved, you took the PATH in, I told you.
Yeah.
Like literally, so I'm claustrophobic.
Oh, wow. And you're in New York, whereas like people are on top of you. You're in the subway, underground, and you're claustrophobic? How the hell did that work?
It wasn't fun.
Okay.
I'm one of those people, like my wife and I have talked, like, I definitely am. I am always like, anxiety is not unknown to me. So like going to New York, I think the best way to put it is, at one point, a close friend of mine in the city was talking to us. We were talking at lunch. We'd always hang out at lunch. We were like, we had a nice small family there at CBS. Like, we were good friends. We'd hang out at lunch. And it's one of those things in New York, you kind of too, I think, built that. Like, there was this sort of like more of a camaraderie than I've found anywhere else. Like, cause you're like kind of trapped in the city for 8 hours a day, 10 hours a day. But we really had like a great group of people. And it's funny when people say things about you that you realize like they're kind of just saying off the cuff, like, this, and you're kind of unaware of it until they say it. And he was talking how his one daughter had some anxiety issues and stuff. And he was encouraging her. And he said, he's like, look, I said to her, hey, honey, look, Erik, he moved here to do acting. Does he want to do acting? And, he's claustrophobic and this and that. And he's like, and look, I mean, it's amazing. Like, he does all this stuff. And you're sitting there like going like, okay, I didn't know I was this weird. Like,
is it that obvious?
Clearly I'm weird. Like, I try to hide it.
Way to put me on the spot.
And on one hand, I was like, it was so nice that he was like using, like, I was like, wow, that's amazing. On the other hand, I was just like, okay, they all know I'm weird, I guess. But so for me, moving I knew going into it, like, again, Lebanon was a bubble. Like, my parents were literally like, when I moved, and my mom will probably say she wasn't, but they were, put your wallet in your front pocket.
Oh, you don't keep it in the back pocket, right?
Pickpocket, keep your wallet in your front pocket.
Right.
Like, I literally did think going to New York, like, there were people around turns, like, corners, just waiting to pickpocket. I never put my wallet in my front pocket just for spite.
Oh, you were ballsy.
I was BA. I was like, I was dangerous.
Great, you were living on the edge.
But like, like to them though, especially, the city was scary. The city's dangerous, and
right.
And my dad, like, he lamented. He was like, oh, I just wish it wasn't New York. And I was like, why? And he's like, just all the drugs, and and I was like, I hate to tell you this, Dad, but I know where to get drugs here.
I was gonna say, it's everywhere.
I was
it's sad, but it's everywhere.
I don't know where to get them in New York. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, because local. Yeah,
dude, I grew up here.
Yeah.
I knew who was into things they shouldn't be into.
Across the streets, the house, or on the corner there. It's like,
you grew up. There was
you
stuff,
see cops watching, yeah, exactly.
I knew people that went to jail. Like,
yeah,
I knew people. Like,
but in New York,
I was like, dude, I don't know anybody there.
Yeah,
I was like, I wouldn't know where to even ask, and I don't think I would want to. Like, that's a whole different ballgame of weird.
Right.
It's not the kid that you knew from 5th grade that kind of went the wrong way.
Yeah.
This is like,
there were signs. There were signs.
So when I went, I was like, but that was it was challenging, because the first subway, like I was telling you, that PATH train, I would literally wait till a new one came in, and so basically I'd get there, one would pull in, people would come out, a bunch of people would go in, and I would stop right before the door and let other people by.
Yeah,
that would close, take off. Next one would come in and open up, people would come out. Well, then I was the first one, so I would rabbit for the back corner, and then I'd get a book, and I'd like just stand like this, and because you'd be packed in so tight.
I believe it.
You're just holding your arms in front of your face with your book, and I would just literally be like, "It's gonna be all right," Just like,
I could do this. I
keep reading my book, and then you'd pretty much try to ignore the fact that in the tunnel you'd see water like
dripping down. Oh, wow.
Because it went under the river.
Yeah,
you're like,
it goes under the river, right?
That's probably not good, right?
That's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Just in general. But
if you're not used to it.
Yeah, if you're not used to it, especially. And I don't want to jump too far ahead because I'll
tell you a million stories and you're going to get a 3-hour podcast.
This could be the longest one ever. I mean, so far we're on track.
I apologize.
Isn't a bad thing. No, it's like you'll hold the record then until I get somebody else that, has a story. And that's what everybody has stories.
That's a rambler.
Exactly. So, okay. All right. So I want to touch on 2006. You were in a horror film for Warner Brothers called The Murder Game.
Yes.
In that film, your head was cut off. So my question is, how much of a pain in the neck is it to get your head cut off?
Nice.
Yeah.
It is not. It actually is not a pain in the neck to get your head cut off. It is a very strong pain in the neck to get a fake head made that they can cut off. What happened was the murder game actually was kind of funny. I didn't want to do it at first because it was a buddy of mine that I had done actually a weird project. It wasn't weird, but like it was a weird coincidence of a project I did back here in Lebanon before I left. I acted in a thing called The Welcomers.
Okay.
And I met this dude named Jason Contino, and Paul, I just forgot his last name, he did The Welcomers. And he actually shot film, and it was this weird deal. I'm moving it. We already were like set to move. And I think I might have even came back. They shot it like out at the racetrack and places.
Oh, wow.
I believe. And it was actually just one of those things. You're like, I'm moving, but I'm shooting something in Lebanon. This is weird. And I met Jason, and he was fresh out of school, film school. We stayed in touch. We liked each, became friends. We hit it off. We stayed in touch. And him and his good friend, Rob Harari, were like, we're going to make our own horror movie. Like they were horror movie. All my people like that I know are like horror movie crazy people. I grew up in Living Waters Chapel up near across from Lions Lake, Pentecostal. I didn't even know most of the 70s music when I graduated high school because it just wasn't played in my house, And like horror movies were not on my thing. And it wasn't even just a religious thing. They weren't my bag. Like I liked movies, but horror movies were not my thing. And these dudes were like, you could name, it was funny on set for The Creek, dude, they would name the most obscure horror movie, and one of them were like, dude, that was remember when the dude's hand, and and they're like, and I was like, you people are crazy pants. So anyway, they were like, we're gonna make our own horror movie. And then he knew I was doing acting in New York. He's like, dude, you ought to audition for it. And I was like, he sent me the script because I write scripts, and he was like, hey, read the script, let me know what you think. Dude, it's a really cool idea. Those big storage units?
Yep.
Like multi-floor ones.
Oh, yeah.
So they live outside Philly. He did. And the other dude, I believe, lived outside Baltimore, if I remember. They had one. They knew the owner. The owner said, you can shoot in here. So they wrote a script where these kids played the murder game, and they'd hand out cards, and they were these kind of unique cards, and one of the cards would be the murderer. So you'd hand out the cards, and then whoever the murderer was, would try to murder the other people, and everyone had, like, they used, like, an aluminum foil ball as a gun. They had little things like that. And it literally was a game.
A game,
and it was
just
a game
for fun.
These teens would play. For fun. And the one goes, dude, he's like, we ought to go in that thing. My dad has a spade there. We'll hide in the thing. When it's over, we'll come out. We'll play in there. That'll be creepy. And that was the concept. And the script was really fun. And he was like, dude, you ought to do this. And I was like, I was 32, I think. Yeah. And I'm like, I was one of those, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to, like, you don't want me to, I'm too old. Like, they were literally 18.
Oh, so they're like young teenagers.
They were supposed to be like 18, 17, 18.
Okay.
I lived through 90210 the first time, and I was like, dude, I don't want to be Andrea,
Right.
And so, but he was like, no, dude, you got to read. And I was like, all right. So I ended up reading, and him and his partner, Rob, they were like, dude, yeah, we want you to play Dexter, I think. Was it Dexter?
Yeah, I looked up. It is Dexter.
Yeah,
the character Dexter. Yeah,
that's amazing. You're making my brain go in places it hasn't been in a while.
while.
So it was Dexter, and it was me and this other dude. Vince was his real name. Super cool guy, very talented. We were like the stoner two out of the pair, and it was this really fun thing. And so he's like, hey, they got a special effects guy out of Jersey City, which was near me in New Jersey, to do your head. He goes, I'm gonna come up. We'll get a prosthetic head made. And I was like, all right, yeah, whatever. And I'm like, just whatever. Yeah, no, to get a prosthetic head made, I mean, literally, they put straws in your nose. He put toilet paper cardboard in my mouth, and you breathe from there, and they just pour plaster, all over your head. And you just gotta, and again, claustrophobic. And dude, I was like, and I couldn't freak out because Jason is a good friend, and he's the kind of friend that is definitely going to never let you forget if you freak out and make fun of you forever. Yeah. And I was just like,
so you're breathing through
a cardboard and then two straws up your nose.
So the straws up the nose, I mean, you're trying to breathe. I was going to say,
didn't do much.
It probably didn't help at all.
Not much. No. It was very annoying, actually.
I believe
but I guess it kept it also from maybe getting in the nose more. Like, I don't know. And then you had to wait till it hardened. And then the dude had to cut you out of it.
Just sitting there. It's hardening.
Just had to sit there.
Probably for, an hour or so? I don't even know. Like, how
it's been a long time. It's probably was a half hour, I think. You kind of had to just sit there with this stuff on your head. And I was just like, obviously you can't see. I mean, it's just.
Covering everything.
Yeah, you just had to sit there. And then Jason was making fun of me. And he's like, he's going to freak out. And I'm like, I hate you. But yeah, so they made it. And then the funny part was they told me, I don't know if they still do, but Rob would use it in his window at Halloween when he'd decorate.
That's phenomenal.
Like he's like, dude, your head's in my heart, you know, like so my head might still be gracing someone's window.
That's cool.
Although that head definitely has more hair than I do now, so nobody would know. Yeah,
okay.
I had hair then. Like it was, you know, I was concerned about that too, and they were like, no, it looks fine, and I was like, and actually looking back on at the time, I remember I was just like, okay, yeah, I don't look. It was better than I thought, but I was very hair conscious from an early age. I did not want to go bald. And it happened.
You just embrace it now. I'm embracing it.
Nothing you can do.
No, nothing you can do. Right.
So that's what the murder game happened, and they went out through. Yeah, eventually it was like Warner Brothers is like the out that it went through. But yeah, it was fun. And actually, they just did a remastered HD like anniversary edition. It's on Tubi. So, hey, if you're listening to this, you can watch the murder game on, it's like all those, Amazon, Tubi, you can rent it.
Perfect.
They did an HD remaster of it. And it was fun. It was they took it in a slightly different direction. Like the script was like actually really creepy and the movie's fun, but they made it more fun. Like they kind of kept in some things that kept it a little lighter, and it's just a fun movie. They say movies get made 3 times: when they're written, when they're directed, and when they're edited.
Makes sense.
I can tell you from doing all 3 of those things, it's 100% true. You can totally change the movie. And from the script, I remember reading it thinking, oh, it's going to be dark and creepy. Parts of it were, but it also, like, my character and Vince's, I mean, we were definitely like the comic relief. And like he said,
Shaggy and Scooby, that's what it reminds me of.
Pretty much was. You know, and he had said their biggest complaint was people were like, dude, you should like definitely, they were like, you killed them too soon. You know, like because we died fairly early on, and they were like, "Oh, you should have kept them in longer." But we were pretty awesome, and yeah. So getting the head cut off part was actually extremely easy and non-stressful. It was the making of the head, the
building
of
the head,
horrible. I was like,
jeez, brutal. So that was 2006. And I want to kind of wrap up you moving back here. So pick up from
Okay, chronologically, I was doing a lot of acting in New York, but it's hard. Like you got to make breaks, and you got to I was actually. If out of 5 auditions, I was landing 3 things, which like odds wise is insane. Like nobody, like I talked to other actors and like when I started, you do like 20 auditions and you're lucky to hear anything back. You do 50 auditions, you didn't hear something back. Like, I mean, it's all about rejection. It's pretty soul crushing, but
I believe
you get used to it. And the one thing people told me that I learned early on, thankfully, was you audition and you forget it. You know, because in the beginning you're always kind of like, well, man,
I hope they call me back. Or, I'm waiting by the phone.
Think about it, and it was horrible. Like, but once you realize you're like, you go in, you give it your best. You feel like, you know, as long as I felt like I like gave a good audition, I didn't worry about it. Because sometimes what you were doing just wasn't what was in their head, you know. And sometimes people don't know how to, like a director doesn't know even how to convey that. For me, when I audition people, I always let the actor kind of just do what they think, and then I'll be like, okay, now can you try it this way? And I always tell them like, it's not because you did it wrong. I want to see what you can do and if I can shift you and how flexible you are. And people are like, okay. But there were some auditions like you do and you totally realize like it just wasn't in their head. But then there's other ones you did, and there was like one in particular I did it, and that was just like you could read it on their faces. Like they were like, and I said to my wife later, I was like, I don't care if I get that part or not.
Yeah.
But they should at least call me. I nailed that. I was like, I nailed that. And she was like, really? And I was like, I'm telling you. And that one was actually pretty cool because they called me like 2 days later. I auditioned at the end of the day, and they looked like tired and slightly angry. And I did the audition.
Like, great, here we go.
I know, right? Yeah. And I was like, hey, how's it going? And I did the audition, and dude, all their faces were just like, wait a minute. And I was kind of, and it was one of those you leave and you're just like, boom, you know, like, I know I nailed it.
Yeah.
So they called me 2 days later, and the guy goes, I have to apologize. He's like, we're casting somebody else in this. And I was like, I get it. And he goes, but you were the first person all day to get it. He goes, we literally thought we wrote something that was just not in reality doable. Like no one understood it.
Yeah.
He goes, you were the first person that like got it. And he was like, he goes, and I'm sorry, but the other person had the look we wanted. He goes, more so than you did. And he's like, you know, so, well, you know. And I go, no, I totally get it. And as an actor, if you don't make your own projects, that's like so frustrating. You're like, well, that's a bunch of crap. Yeah. It's not. Like once you do your own project. So when we did The Creek, so I did a short. I think it might even be on IMDb, the whole short. It was this weird piece that I did that was really fun. And I was going to do another short. And Jason and his partner, Rob, were like, why are you doing another short? And I said, well, because, you know, I mean, I want to do another project. I want to push something forward. You know, I want to make something. And he's like, just do a feature. And I was like, you know, and they were in the middle of, I think they were at the time in the middle of post-production. Murder Game.
Oh, the Murder Game. Yeah, the Murder Game. Yeah.
And they were like, just do a feature. And he goes, think about it. He goes, you're doing like 80% of the pre-production work. He goes, why go to all that trouble? A short really doesn't have legs. Like, a feature is a feature. You can actually sell it, maybe, hopefully put in festivals more. I mean, shorts, there's a lot of festivals, but they really don't have a lot of legs.
If you're going to do it, go all in. Yeah.
He goes, you already did a short. So I thought about it, and I talked to Nancy, and it was like, it was one of those moments where you're like, well, it was a commitment. Where does the money come from? Because there's definitely, it's going to cost something. She wanted to wait a year, and I said, okay, but you do want to have kids. And she's like, yeah. I go, okay, well, if we wait a year, then it's going to be, this year when we do this and this year when we do that. And then it's done editing. And then, I go, so that's going to push kids back this far. And she goes, yeah, we better do it this year. And so I wrote The Creek specifically for locations I knew I had. So Chris said I could use his garage at night a little bit in the car lot. And then his dad had a cabin out near Lickdale that was in the middle of nowhere. And he talked to his dad, and his dad goes, just don't burn it down. And nice. I was like, okay, so I got this creepy cabin, and I got, the car lot, and my mother-in-law said we could shoot a scene at her house. So I literally wrote the script for the locations I had. And then we cast 2 girls out of New York City. I did castings in New York, which was fun.
Yeah.
Well, dude, when you're doing a feature horror, especially now, this was 2006. Like, and even now though, like a feature people get excited about, and horror they get excited about because like horror is one of those weird things that it doesn't need a lot of money, but it could catch fire.
Yeah.
Where like dramas,
I see what you're saying,
aren't as, I had over 1,000 headshots sent to me for like 8 roles.
Holy cow.
And there was people from California that were like, I'll pay my own airfare. And, just please consider me, because it's tough. And if you're in LA, the thing is, I told you, New York doesn't have a lot of like television and film. It has theater. If you want to do theater,
go to New York.
Go to New York.
That's a place.
Yeah, I mean, that's the place to be. LA, though, really, if you want to do film and television, to get those better roles is even harder. And so we narrowed it down, and actually, like, some of the stuff I wrote, one of the characters I wrote for a friend of mine from college who always wanted to act. And I said to him, if you put the time in and you hang out and stuff, like show me you can do it, work with me. And he showed me he could do it, and he was dedicated to it. But the thing was, I wrote it for him because he had the perfect look. He was really nice. I hated him. Like when I first met him, he's one of those people. Dude, he just looked like a prick. You know what I mean? You're just like,
the vibes weren't good. You're just
I
like,
don't think I like you.
Yeah.
And then I got to know him, and dude, he was a nitwit, and he was fun. But he had that air about him. And when you watch this, if you do, he plays Calvin.
Okay.
And Calvin, his look was, dude, he was 90% there. Just with his look, his vibe as was. So going back to the other story, when the guy was like, "Hey, you nailed it, but we cast this other dude," I was like, "I get it," because sometimes it is like the look can be that much of it that you're like, and as an actor, it's soul crushing, but as a director and someone who's done casting, you realize like it's kind of true. And depending on the character and how pivotal they are to your thing, the look is what you need. There's a lot
that goes into it.
There's a lot. So, it's one of those things. So we did The Creek. I would bring 2 girls back with New York with me. So we shot Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday nights for 6 weeks. I would work. All of us had day jobs. So we would all work Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. The girls would meet me off at my house from the train. They'd get in the car. I'd drive them back. We'd do an all-nighter. That first night, everyone pulled an all-nighter. I think it was the 4th week I got really sick. And I went to the doctor, and I said, I can't be sick. You got to give me something. He goes, what's going on? And I told him what I'm doing. And he goes, how did you think you wouldn't get sick? And I go, it's the only way to do it. Like, I mean, what am I going to do? And he goes, well, it's a cold. He goes, I'll give you some antibiotics, but I don't even think, you got to sleep. And I was like, okay. So then Sunday mornings, we'd shoot Saturday night into Sunday morning. And generally Sunday morning, the girls were like, of course, like, yeah, I want to get home. So I would actually drive straight back to New Jersey.
Holy cow.
Drop them off at the train station, go home, and just crash. And then you'd do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday over again. And it was crazy. But again, when you want to do something, and this was the way we could do it, we made it work. And for the actors, they weren't obviously needed every night. For me, it was like, you kind of had to. But we took a second mortgage out on our house, and that's how we made the film. And we said we got a $20,000 budget and $5,000 for marketing. My parents insisted on giving me some money toward it, which was very kind of them. So we made a movie. And yeah, so we did film festivals. We got winner of the best feature horror at the Illinois International Film Festival,
cool.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
But honestly, like, it didn't play in like big festivals. But at the time, we came out right when HDV was hitting. And so we shot on what was the camera to use for low-end films. But it was also an SD camera. So it was right on that hub of going HDV, like an HD. And distributors were starting to say like, oh, you know, this is HDV. And they were kind of looking for that. So we really got blessed in that, like, we did play in a bunch of festivals, which a lot of people couldn't. And I had people contacting me going like, how did you play in all these festivals? And I was like, you know, telling them what I did and stuff. But the problem is, and people will tell you like, you know, it's great. Like, you know, the stuff's gotten cheaper. You can make stuff cheaper and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, people can make movies that want to make movies. And I'm like, yeah, but the sea's so big. And even back then in 2007, when we were doing festivals, the sea had grown so much. People that did festivals that usually got 100 submissions were getting 3,000 submissions. Wow. Because so many people started to make movies. And so many people started to make bad movies. And The Creek isn't the best movie you're ever going to see. It's not, hopefully, by far the worst, but I'm sure some people will find it to be the worst. But I'm very proud of what we made. It's not a horror movie. It's a thriller.
I like thrillers. Yeah, horror movies, like, for me, I'm not a big, I don't like roller coasters, and I don't like horror movies. Like, I just don't. Now, thrillers I can get into, especially like with suspense and things like that.
Yeah.
And you know, it's crazy to think like you were committed to making this. I mean, you were going, you know, second mortgage, and then, you know, at the same time, you're burning the candle at both ends. Like, you're dedicated to it.
Oh, what you got to do. And I always say to people, they say, why do you make movies or try to make movies or do what I do? And I always tell people it's because I'm too stupid to stop. Like, I just love it.
You
like,
don't know anything else. Yeah.
It's what I love to do. And if I was smart, I wouldn't. And most people will tell you that make films, like try to make films. If you haven't had big success, it's tough, you know, and you got to either love it. And I say to people now, if you want to get into this field, you do it because it's the only thing you love to do. Because if you like to do anything else, do that. Like, it's just your life will be so much easier.
Consumed, right?
You know, but it was cool, and I learned a lot. And so when I went to college, I got grants for a lot of it. I was really blessed. Like, Hack we paid for, and then Millersville, because I was a non-traditional student, I ended up being able to get grants. So that's why my parents gave us some money, and they were kind of like, here, since we didn't have to pay for college. And then Nancy always said, like, she had like this huge school loan because she went to Delaware Valley and got a horse degree.
Oh, wow. Wait, a horse degree? What?
I always say that to
like
tease
equestrian riding horses, or like
she got an associate's degree
veterinarian?
in equine science.
Okay, okay.
So, but
horse degree.
but her horse went with her to there. She's had a horse since she was
my
like
sister's big into riding horses.
11,
like, big time.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I mean, it's on now. She's married, so it's like it's on her husband now. But like,
tell her husband, I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's an investment, right? It's a black hole. You never stop paying for things. But anyway, yeah, that's okay. So, I mean, and that's what's so important too. Like with family, parents, Nancy being so supportive, because, you know, if you want to try something that's different, and like you said, some people think you're crazy, might think you're crazy, but it's like, to have that support is huge.
Well, you need it.
Yeah.
I mean, because otherwise you just can't do it. Like, without her support and we made all the decisions together, and we do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of our, you know, we make decisions together. We talk things through, and even with like my current projects, what I'm doing, and like this, tell them I'm sorry. I went to her and I'm like, you know, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I'm thinking. Where are you at with this? Where are we at with this? You know, what do you think? And you have to, but especially like when you're taking a second mortgage out.
Yeah.
Then I felt horrible, but I was like, I'm not good at raising money. Mm-hmm. I'm not good at finding money. A real producer, like, does that. Like, they find the project. Like, I can produce, like, line produce. Like, I can make a budget. I can shoot on that budget. I can do all that side of producing. I can get my cast together. I can do that. The actual, like, money part, like, I'm that's not built into me, you know. Mm-hmm. And people are like, oh, well, you should see, like, maybe this person will sponsor this and you get money that way. I'm not good. I don't like that. Like, people are like, oh, I'm like, I don't like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just not my thing. I'm not a salesman. This I love to do. Like, chat with people is cool.
Oh, yeah.
But not if I have a purpose. Like, not if I'm kind of like in my head, I'm going like, okay, I got to get around to that money thing. You know?
Right. Yeah.
I'm just not geared that way.
Yeah.
And that's why we ended up the second mortgage, because I said to her, I have no idea how to do this. Like, otherwise, like, other than this. And she was just like, okay. She's like, well, if we do this, we can do that. And yeah, it was a blessing to have her, that she was into that. And family members brought food at night. Dude, when you shoot all night and it's cold.
A little cold.
And we wrecked a car. It was awesome.
You wrecked a car?
Yeah, we bought like a car that the tranny was bad
Was
from
it supposed?
Chris. No, on purpose. And he's supposed to crash into a tree. And the one dude at the garage, Nick, he's like, dude, I'll do it. And I'm like,
like stuntman?
I was like, you serious?
Yeah.
He's like, yeah. And he was like, I go, well, don't go. We don't need you to go that fast. The car has to run afterwards because in the script, the car actually still runs.
Okay.
But it hits a tree and then like it still does stuff. And he was just like, I can go faster than this. And I'm like,
Oh,
no.
no.
Like, yeah, it was super cool of him.
Yeah.
And we had the helmet on him and stuff. And like we changed wheels out so it didn't have the airbag. And, but no, dude, it's, The Creek is legit in the sense of it's what's called a no budget movie, but like it's low, no budget. So everybody got paid. Like my budget all went toward equipment and paying people. And that's the problem doing what I do is like Nancy paints. And I always say to her, like, I'm jealous in the sense of like, she can buy paints and brushes and a canvas and she can paint against the world's most famous artist. And you still have a shot. You're using the same materials, basically. You're using the same stuff. When you're doing what I do, like, you need certain equipment. And people will point to, like, low-budget projects that break through. Like, I hated the Blair Witch Project.
That's what I was, because that was...
People always bring it up, which is why it's like a thorn in my
budget,
side.
right.
And it came out right a little bit before we did this. So people, even my distributor was like, I know you think this is another Blair Witch. I go, no, I don't.
Yeah.
This is a movie. I go, Blair Witch was a gimmick. And it was a marketing gimmick. About every 5 to 10 years, a found footage movie comes out.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, this is found footage. It's one of those things where, like, it's just the cycle of life. What they did was great. I hated watching it. Like, if I had to look up that chick's nose one more time and she's like, yeah, I was like,
It's like, really?
It's not like, to me, it's not. And I was like, no, that's not what this is. And those movies can happen. And even a movie like this can take off. But the odds of it are so hard, and it's usually because you get picked up by somebody bigger that has marketing money, and like somehow they see something in it that they can market it. Or if you make it, and in the meantime, one of your actors, like the girl that plays Catherine, ended up on Orange Is the New Black. Like,
what?
Yeah, not a big part, but
she still Orange Is the New Black.
At one point, Nancy's like, "Hey," she goes, "Catherine's on Orange Is the New Black," and I was like, "Really?" I was like, "Cool."
Yeah, my wife and I used to watch that all the time. We fell off a little bit on it, but
yeah, she had a small part in that. The guy that plays Coop was actually my brother-in-law, and I wrote that part for him, and he too was someone that wanted to do acting. He's out in LA now. He's been out there like 8 years, and he had a part in Failure to Launch. Remember the Matthew McConaughey movie?
Oh yeah.
He had a fun part in that. And actually, so when I was in New York, just another side story for you, every week you go through backstage, you go through things. I'm mailing out headshots. Back then we mailed them.
No
Back
emails,
then, boys and girls,
right.
You mailed them.
Old school snail mail.
And so I found this one. I sent him. I go, dude, you got to submit to this. I go, so my brother-in-law is Brian Jaslowski. He grew up here, went to Lebanon Catholic. He played for St. Joe's University the year they went to the Elite Eight.
Oh, wow.
And he played with Jameer Nelson. So tall dude. Brian, the one guy from Russia would call him Mimic Boy, because Brian, he can hear your act. He can hear you once, and he can do
He
you.
picks it up that quickly.
I mean, dude, he has an ear that's amazing.
Wow.
So it said over 6'5", plays basketball, Polish accent. He had never auditioned for anything yet at this point, except my movie. Okay, well, he didn't audition. I wrote it for him.
Yeah.
And I knew he could do what I wanted him to do, and I'm like, cool. And I said, dude, you got to send in for this. And he was like, oh, dang, all right. Yeah, I mean, I'll do that. And I was like, he ain't going to do it. So like a week later, it popped up again.
Yeah.
Brian's cool, but he's like super laid back in the day, especially. And so I called him again. I'm like, dude, like, did you send in for that? He's like, oh, yeah, man, I was gonna, but I like totally forgot. Yeah, I guess I should do that. And I was like, dude, send in your headshot. He goes, all right. So he calls me up. He's like, hey, man, I'm going to be coming to the city like next week. He goes, I got an audition for that thing. I go, cool, what is it? Because it didn't, and a lot of times with acting, they don't go into a lot of stuff. It's kind of like, here's what we need.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I don't know. I'm like, all right, cool. So I go, I'll meet you then. So I believe if I remember, like he did the audition. He came, he chat with me. And he's like, yeah, we'll see what happens. It ended up being for Failure to Launch. He got the part. He made more money in that. They flew him to New Orleans. He shot for like 3 days in New Orleans right before the flood happened.
Oh,
in like 2000, whatever. The hurricane hit Katrina.
Yeah.
He did the scene with Matthew McConaughey and Bradley Cooper, and it was before Bradley Cooper took off. Like that was one of his early stuff. He did the scene. Yeah, made more money than I ever made acting in New York the whole time I was there. Wow. And he still gets residual checks. I'm like,
and that's because of you.
But that's just, it is how life works with this business. we ended up, it was right. So this came out in '08, and actually it came out, it was in Blockbuster, Netflix.
Oh, wow. I love Blockbuster back in the day.
Yeah, it was actually like, you know, it was everywhere.
Yeah.
I got a good distribution with it, but like little movies like this, like there was no tracking in them back in the day, especially.
Okay.
Like my friends that just did the Murder Game and have released it digitally. So far, they're encouraging me to try to do that with this. There actually is some tracking. There's some information. They actually, at one point, their distributor told them that they owed them a certain amount of money, but they were not going to pay you. And they were like, well, what do you mean? And they were like, yeah, times are tough. And they got a lawyer, and the lawyer was like, you're going to spend so much. Like,
it's not worth it.
So I went with someone different because I had heard people having other problems. My movie had a 3-year out. Most were for 7 years. And I got one sales report. That was it.
Oh, wow.
Dude, never gave me any more sales reports. Supposedly, I was supposed to start getting like a good chunk of money after they sold like 500 of them. And 3,000 were printed. I got, at the end of my deal, I canceled it after 3 years. I was like, this isn't helping me. They actually, I didn't know it. We'd already moved back to Pennsylvania. The people that bought our house called us and they go, hey, there's like 30 boxes here. Do you like addressed to you? Most distributors, like they went out through Warner Brother, but they had a distributor between them and Warner Brother. Like this distributor would buy low budget stuff and put it out through Warner Brother. My distributor was the same deal. And when he canceled it, the main distributor, which I believe was Ryko, they just back shipped all my DVDs to me.
To your address, your old address.
So it was actually, I made out the best because all my friends that like them and some other people they knew, like they just kind of got screwed. You got no money, no nothing. I got like 900 DVDs back.
Oh,
and I was like, yes.
Yeah.
So like
at least you have something.
I can hand these out to people and be like, hey, have a DVD, you know? Right. So it was actually really cool. But here's the thing. We made 3,000 in the first run.
Okay.
I got 900 back.
Oh, so you should have got something.
And that's how the business was.
Something? Wow.
You know, like I don't know how much better it is. I mean, it's been a while, obviously. So yeah, you were just kind of hosed. Like you had no leg to stand on. They knew you couldn't sue them, and the lawyer actually said, they go, you'll pay as much to you get back as you're going to pay for me to sue them.
Worth it.
And they go, to be honest, what they're going to do is they're just going to incorporate under another name and just keep plowing
doing
along.
The same thing. Yeah.
And they were like, oh man. So hopefully they're doing great now with what they're doing.
Yeah.
But so that happened, and then I put this here for you, 12 Bells. And actually 12 Bells was my next project, and I was hoping to do something bigger. And that almost got off the ground, and I know we're going long on you, for like $2 million. And it was awesome. I had a producer out of Philly who my brother-in-law knew, actually, the one I was like bugging about failure to launch. He was on board. We went out and scouted locations in Minnesota. It was like going to happen. They sold the foreign distribution for like $1 million. It was like, and I was like, yes, like, 'cause that's what I was hoping, like the next step.
Yeah.
And I shot the trailer actually right here in downtown Lebanon, across from the Hack parking lot there on Cumberland. The building next to that, I believe it was like a mess. And Bill Simone reached out to me of Simone and Associates.
Yes, yeah.
Because I was in the Lebanon paper about shooting this movie in Lebanon. We premiered it at the Allen. Dude, we sold out the Allen.
Holy cow, that's like 300 plus. I forget how many. I think 350 or something.
Skip owned it at the time.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
And Skip was like, dude, he goes, I realized you were serious, because he started seeing some of the stuff I was putting out, because people would hit him up for stuff. He was calling people in to come in because he didn't have enough people. Like, we literally sold the place out. Like, They were putting chairs up. And it was so cool, the support we got with that. And so Bill Simone had heard of it. He wanted to move into film in the end of his career. He had gotten some amazing gear. And, dude, that guy had such a crazy eye for lighting. Like, he was so good at his craft, and he was like, I want to work with you on what you're doing. So me and him, like with his help, we shot 12 Bells in that crazy building. And so I wrote a script for the building. Like, I knew we could use this building, so I wrote a script for it, shot it in there. And if you look up that trailer looks awesome. So that almost got off the ground. We had names attached to it that you would know, that were like tentatively attached. But it was one of those like mo money, mo problems.
I was gonna say, what happened? Yeah.
The foreign distribution was keyed on us casting at least one or two of people that they would give you a list.
Okay.
And the producer was like, and I still talk to him, and he had said to me later, like, what happened was, he goes, I've never experienced this. They never sent the list. And I kept going like, well, where's the list?
Yeah.
And he goes, they just didn't send the list. And he goes, and that made the whole deal fall apart because of it. And you're like, okay. And so after that, I really loved that project. And my friend Chris Staley had an apartment he rented across from Benelli Auto Sales, a house. He wasn't renting anymore. He was going to tear it down and make more parking space for Courtright's is across the street there. And it was in front of It was Courtright's old house, actually. He goes, do whatever you want with it. And I was like, seriously? And he's like, yeah. So 12 Bells, we shot here but lived in North Jersey. We had Asher. He was a baby then. Nancy, really, to go back to your question, she had her fill. Like, she was good. Like, she liked New York, but it was good. She had a baby, and she's going, and she's like, what happens if the blackout happens? Like, what happens? You know, we both worked in the city. And she's like, what's going to happen? She really wanted somebody to stay home. And I agree. Like, I thought that was a good idea if we could get somebody to stay home, especially her. Like, I thought she'd be the one to stay home with the kids. And
holy cow, you are coming around to my question.
I do get back there.
Because even I forgot it. I'm going to be honest. But I do like where we're going. So please continue.
But I do get back.
Okay, yeah, continue. Yeah.
So, and I said what you should never say, but as somebody, I don't know about yourself, but like, you know, as a never a father yet, potential father basically to be, I had a much different perspective than her. And I go, it's not like they'd kick him out on the curb, you know, like wherever daycare he's at or something. Yeah. Which you don't tell a pregnant woman. Like, you don't do that.
I don't think that would go over well.
She was like, bah! And I was like, okay, that wasn't okay. But, and actually one of her people that she worked with, they had a baby when the blackout did happen. And the nanny took it home and just took care of it and was like, and brought her back the next day. And, you know, it was just one of those things. So yada, yada, yada. And Nancy made this weird announcement like January, right when Asher was born. And she goes, I want to move home this year by like, you know, the fall. And I was like, okay. I go, well, that's going to be on God because that's a tough move. Like we have a house. It was right when the housing market took a dump.
Right.
And it was like
a lot going on.
Okay. Yeah. The short version is she got the job at Messiah. She actually was on maternity leave, went back. Her work went through a lot of changes. They had a new creative director. She pretty much just cleared out all the old people. Mm-hmm. So Nancy got let go. And then 2 days later, I think, Messiah called and said, we want you to start here.
Meant to be.
And God's good. Like he has a plan and I don't understand it or agree with it. I'm like, why? God?
Yeah.
Because I really felt like when I moved to New York, like with all my weirdness and just like the fact that like the way we got to go there, I'm like, good. If I get there and I, you know, it's if I okay, this is the wrong way to say it, but if I nut up and I do this, I was scared to death. You know, when I drove that moving truck, I can tell you to this day, I remember the signs on the turnpike, and when I was like getting onto the turnpike in New York, you can see New York, and I can like just like
right, reality's hitting.
Yeah, I mean, I was shaking. I was just like, this isn't good. And Nancy still makes fun of me. The first time she got on the train, I was like, and she's like, what? And I go, if you don't come home, what do I do? And she's like, what do you mean? I go, like, who do you call? Like, what do you know?
Especially
what I mean?
Back then, right?
Yeah, like, you just had phones, and but like, you know,
pagers,
like here,
probably
like
pagers.
You go to work, like I call the police. Hey, who do you even call?
Oh yeah, right.
Like, where do you call? Do you call New York?
City.
Do you call your local town? Like, what would you even do?
Yeah.
And I didn't know at that point, like, I'd never been to, like, how do you even get to her work? I'd never been on a train like that in my life. So it was like, I wouldn't even know how to get there. Like, if she had an emergency.
Right, yeah.
How do you get there?
How do you get there? Right.
And my brain thinks of all that weird crap. You know, I really thought, like, if I moved, like, that was, you know, doors were going to fly open. I mean, and we were good. We were taken care of. It wasn't the way I thought. It wasn't, you know, I really thought acting was going to, like, blow up. But I did a lot of really cool stuff, and I did tons of these, like, student films, independent films. But at that point, it was, like, life shifts. And Nancy was like, you know, and I always believe personally, like, you know, when you have kids, your life should shift to be about them.
Yeah.
And I was like, all right, you know, this is time to do that. And I also always wanted my parents, like my brother had kids, but I'd gotten divorced and his wife took them to Massachusetts. And my parents just like, are so cool and wanted to be grandparents so bad. And I was always wanted to like have them around them. Yeah. And my parents have been amazing. Like, and having kids with them, like they have the craziest relationship. So coming home, like you had said, like, why did you come home? Nancy drank her fill. I could have stayed a little longer, but to be honest, it is what it is. And then you reprioritize. And people will say to you at times, they're just like, you know, why would you come back to Lebanon? And I'm like, because I didn't leave Lebanon because Lebanon sucked. I left Lebanon because Lebanon just didn't have what I was trying to do. So I had to go somewhere else to do that. And after living in New York, there's a lot of things, well, North Jersey and working in New York City, there's so many things in Lebanon that you don't have there, you know, and like Nancy's commute is actually the same as it was there, but like her horse is now 15 minutes away. where to have a horse there and afford it, it was like a 50-minute drive. And there's just so many things. Like we can get home and go on the rails to trails. That's like 10 minutes away. You know, like you can do so many things. So, you know, each place has advantages and disadvantages, like any decision in life you make. But like, you know, Lebanon has a lot to offer, and for family and for education. You know, if we stayed there, the neighbor kids played in the parking lot for the train. I would go out and play Foursquare with them. Yeah. We'd have fun. But my kids grew up and, you know, they have like, you know, four-wheelers.
I was gonna say grass,
trees.
Fields. Yeah,
you know?
Trees. Right.
We live in the woods, so we actually have like some paths, some trees, like, you know. So it's the quality of life here is just so different, and it's so worth it. We decided to move, and God opened those doors for Messiah, and our house sold. And we had gotten our house for a really good deal, and so we were blessed the way that worked out, and we ended up making the shift back. But she got the good job first. And doing what I do, like you were saying about Amish Mafia and stuff, my work was flexible from the beginning. And it was like, I can edit. Why edit from home? You know, I have my own editing system. So I had an editing system. And when we first got back, I got this big job for some place that was doing an app that they were doing sign language. And it was before anybody was doing that.
Yeah.
And it was 5,000 little videos of people doing sign
language.
It was crazy. Jeez. And I way underbid it. Because, like, I talked to somebody else and they go, I don't even know how I would have.
How do you quote that? Yeah,
and I was like, but at the same time, it was cool. Like it was work, you know, so I could be flexible.
Right.
So I ended up accidentally being the one that was home with the kids.
With the two boys, with the two sons. Yeah. Which is very different because normally it's the wife, but yet it worked out and you were able to still pursue your dream, your career, however you want to call it, but you were still able to do the things that you loved while also being there to support the family and play like your role, you know what I mean?
Yes. It was a mental adjustment because it wasn't something I was planning to do. And when I first was there with the baby, you know, he was, when we moved back 9-10 months old, that was definitely like all right, this is happening. Yeah. You know, when the second guy came along, I knew what I was doing.
You knew a little bit more.
Yeah, I was kind of like, all right, I know what I'm doing.
Like a seasoned vet almost. You're like, I got this.
You're
okay.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. The first one, you're like, oh my God, what do I do?
The first one's scary as is. You know.
Yeah.
You know,
like, we have a 1-year-old Parker, you know.
The first one is. What do I do here?
Right.
They're making a noise.
Is that good or bad? Are they okay? Are they breathing? Like, what should we do? You know, back is best. Always put them on their back when they're little for sleeping. You know, you learn these things quickly.
Yes.
You know, and you hit on Amish Mafia, which like my wife would tell you, my father, like I loved watching Amish Mafia. So like, what was your role there? Because that came out 2012 roughly, and I think it was like 3 or 4 seasons, but I don't know why I loved it. I guess because growing up in Lebanon, you know, born and raised, you know, you'd always see the horse and buggies and the Amish, you know, they don't have electric. There's no, you know, the clothes are always out on the wash line and stuff like that. So what was your role and, you know, how do you even get a gig with Amish Mafia?
Like everything in this business and in life in general, I mean, to be honest, so many people, you have jobs where they just, you know, a door opens, somebody knew somebody. And that's just, I was saying to my wife just today, like a lot of stuff just works that way. So my friend Jim Hollenbaugh, who's a really great independent filmmaker, I went to Millersville with him.
Okay.
He was my assistant director on The Creek, and we struck up a friendship on that, and we ended up keeping in touch, and he then would work on all my different projects. And Jim's great, and he's an award-winning independent short filmmaker. Like he makes these really great, amazing short films that have played in like all sorts of different countries. Like, I mean, he's very talented, lives in Lancaster. So we've been friends forever. He also loves, like, he makes his money. He's a freelance production guy. So he does DP, grip, gaffing. Back here, you kind of got to do a little everything usually because there's not a lot of, like, it's tough, like, for me, like, you can't really be like, I'm a director. Yes. What directing do you want? Like, it's not the way it works. Like, you kind of got to do a little everything. So, like, that's why I do produce, I edit, I direct, I kind of do everything. Well, Jim likes to focus on, like, DPing, and he does grip and gaff. So that's, like, his main niche.
And grip and gaff, and that all is, like, the lighting and that
grip,
kind of stuff?
Your grip work is, like, not lighting. Gaffing's your lighter.
Gaffing, okay.
Your grip is one that's going to deal with your actual, like, grip, your C-stands, your this, your that, like setting up the hardware.
Oh, okay.
You know?
Yeah.
They're going to do the hardware setup. The gaffers are actually like your lighting guys. Like, if you're on a regular film set, so the first thing I worked on in Millersville, my last year, there's a thing called watchusdie.com. If you look it up.
Watchusdie.com.
So now you're making me go backwards. a teacher came up to me and said, "Look, there's a film shooting in Cornwall. Aren't you like, you're from around there, aren't you?"
Yeah, it's your
and I was
backyard.
like, "Yes."
Yeah.
And it's the old Union Linen building. It's in Alden Place now. The building's still there. It's this crazy mansion.
Yes. Oh my God, I know where you're at.
It's that crazy mansion.
It's just kind of up on the hill, right? It's
Yes.
kind of, yeah.
Yep,
I've never
in
been there,
Alden
but
Place.
I've seen like
It's really cool inside.
stuff about it. Yeah.
So I was my last semester. He goes to call this dude. They're looking for a boom operator. Well, and boom operator is not exactly overly technical. So I was like, all right, let's call the dude. The dude's actual uncle did like, I think, all the audio on Miami Vice back in the day. Like, but the dude's like from out of here. I mean, he's passed away a while ago, but this was like his nephew, and his nephew did sound stuff too. So this was like a lower budget feature. It shot 35 millimeters. So it was legit. Like, I mean, it had a budget. They were like, yeah, we want you to do this. And so I went to school. I went to all my teachers. I said, I have this opportunity because it shot for like a month. And it was called watchusdie.com. It was actually really smart because right when the internet was taking off, and they were having those like voyeur sites. The concept was these girls would get their college paid for free, but they had to live at this house. And they did a bunch of like B-roll and were putting it on the internet. Like, this is a real place and it was free kind of thing, like previews. And so they were trying to get people to believe it was real. And then on the thing, they were going to show somebody get murdered, and it was going to switch to watchusdie.com. And I think they actually did do this. And then it was a horror movie that these girls were in this voyeur house, and then they all start getting killed, and who's killing them.
Yeah.
And on that set, I was a boom operator. I went to help the grip, and the dude was like, "Don't touch that." You know, and like realistically in union jobs, like you can't touch anything that you're not supposed to be touching.
Yeah.
So like the gaffers do the lights, they touch lights, the grips touch what they touch.
Stay in your lane.
Yes,
Yeah.
very much so. And I learned that on my first thing, which was not union. It was non-union, but the dude was like, not a nice person. But he was just like, and he wanted help later, and I was like, I didn't think.
Are you sure I can help you?
You.
Yeah.
And then
now you want my help.
I got my revenge on that one. Basically, though, what happened was Jim's really talented. He works for a lot of the local production companies, freelance, and he ended up getting connected with, it's called Hot Snakes Media. They're the ones that actually produced Amish Mafia. And he worked on the first 2 seasons. He loved it because it was so ridiculous. I mean, they were long days. The pay he wasn't super excited about, I don't think. But reality shows don't pay.
Yeah.
Like, they're just one of those deals. They're long days. They don't pay well.
I
but
believe it, yeah.
He loved the crazy because there was a lot of crazy.
Drama, a lot of, yeah.
And then they were doing something called Amish Horror Stories, and they shot that down in Lancaster as well. Their media manager they needed a media manager for the last week of the shoot because some sort of schism happened. And their media manager was no longer there. So Jim was like, he's like, yeah, my buddy Eric could probably do that. So they called me. I went and did this 1 week thing. And they were like, yeah, okay, great. Thank you so much. Whatever. So then the next season of Amish Mafia came up, and they were like, it was like the second last season I think I worked on. They're like, hey, can you be the media manager again? And I was just like, sure, cool. And so I ended up doing the media manager job for that whole like 3rd or 4th season. And Jim was, I think he might have moved up to like assistant camera on that year. But he was pissed because I ended up making more money.
Oh, wow.
Doing media manager.
Yeah.
But the media manager literally, like, I would go down and at night and I'd get the cards, all their media cards, take them back, and then they gave me giant hard drives, and you're basically you're managing their media.
Okay.
So you make
right.
sure you lose footage.
Your head's on the block.
Oh my gosh.
The
like
media manager.
so
that makes so much sense.
You had to do all that.
Yeah.
But like if you ever have the time or you want to, like you have Jim on, he'll tell you the best Amish Mafia stories, and he was there
Levi.
for I think every season. I mean, and I think he did all the seasons, and he knows all the inside dirt. I know what Jim's told me because basically I would drive down. They were at a hotel in off Fruitville Pike.
Okay.
I would drive down 72, make a left at all those restaurants right before you get to Park City, go in the hotel, scoop up the cards, take them home. Back them up again, clear the cards off, take them back the next night, switch cards, and I did that for like 8 weeks or whatever it was.
Holy cow.
And it's not sexy, but it was paid
Somebody's
money.
got to do it, right.
And I could do it while the kids were sleeping. So it was like one of those things you were just like, God's good. It worked out,
Yeah, I was going to say not easy money, but it is.
That one ended up being
easy.
fairly easy money because USB 3 came out, and I bought a brand new laptop for the job. USB 3 was such a big jump. When I did the first one, it literally took 8 hours overnight. Like I was there all night. And actually, I wrote this script, Tell Them I'm Sorry. Because you basically would like do the card and you just waited for it to transfer. So I would work on this script and then you check the card, make sure the files are there, then you back it up again. Actually, when that came out, I got the new laptop, I took the cards, I put them in. It went from taking a minute a gig to like you could do a 60 gig card instead of an hour. It would take like 12 minutes. And I called
Game
Jim.
changing.
I was like, dude, you're not going to believe this. I go, this is crazy. He was like, what? You're already making more money than me. He goes, this is crazy. And I was just like, don't tell anyone.
Yeah.
This is amazing. I was like, I don't know. I didn't know this. It was like magic, you know?
Yeah.
So I actually got lucky on that gig where it wasn't a horror show of like taking forever and this and that. Like I was kind of like, you win some. Like I said with the sign language thing.
Yeah.
Did not win on that.
Did not win on that one.
You know, but this one was one of those you were
live and learn.
Yes,
this one you did. Yeah,
it's like one of those type situations.
The Amish
but yeah,
Mafia.
so then Jim and I do stuff together. I love 12 Bells. It was kind of dead in the water. Jeff was still the producer in Philly, was still trying to do stuff with it. Chris was like, "Hey, I'm really sorry." He goes, "You're gonna get your crap out in 2 weeks."
Oh,
He goes, "I'm sorry," and I was like, "Dude, it's your house."
Yeah.
And I was like really bummed. I was really depressed. I was kind of depressed because I was just like, man. And I'd always said to Nancy, like, if God gave me something where I could shoot something, I like that made sense. I wanted to do something like positive for Lebanon.
Yeah.
And the house was not the place. Like, you know, within 2 weeks or a month, we went to the Lebanon Valley Council of the Arts, bought that building. They had just opened it. Nancy was a member. We just went to a thing. Seamus was there.
Yeah.
He's like, oh, let me show you around. We hit the 3rd floor, and I'm like, what are you doing with this? And he's like, I don't know. They just bought the building. Talk to Sharon Zook. And I talked to her, and they rented me the 3rd floor. And We Are Lebanon, PA started after that.
Started there. Okay.
Because I was like, well, God gave me the space. I'm going to do something to give back. And so we started doing We Are Lebanon, PA.
So let's get into, We Are Lebanon, PA, and then tell them I'm sorry. Then you also have the project. I'm going to try my best.
I knew you
Hold
paused.
on.
I could tell. I was like, he's thinking about it. Diaconia.
Yep.
Diaconia.
Diaconia. I had an A in there.
You're not up on Latin?
I'm sorry. No, I'm not. I'm like, I speak English. No. Diaconia. So, like, let's dive into those.
Again, with my business, you just, without money, you can only do so much. Okay, so you were asking about those 3 projects. Diaconia, I shot locally. That's like currently. So we did that over about 2 years. I tried to raise money with a donor box thing online. I really thought people would get behind it because it was local. I'm shooting local. I shot at the really cool church on right at 7th and Lehman. Forget the name. I'm sorry. I apologize. People at the church, you were so nice. But you're tagged in everything. I tagged them in everything I did. And basically, like the locations, I'm like, look, I'll tag you in everything. So the locations I all got for free. And the mall, Michelle at the mall is amazing.
I know Michelle.
Oh, dude, I love her. She's like so supportive of like local things, and she let us use the mall for the shoot at the mall because we had this really big mall scene planned. We shot at the mall. It wasn't as big because we couldn't raise. I was trying to raise $15,000, which was really just going to pay for. Basically, what you shot was what's called a sizzle reel. Okay. So you're shooting that as a sales reel. Diaconia is a Christian-based series, so it's not a Christian series. It's based in the fact that everybody knows about these things in the Bible. You know about Noah's Ark. You know about, Moses parting the sea. We all know, like, and it kind of makes me mad. My kids are watching, like, Spider-Man. Dude gets bit by a radioactive spider. Like, technically speaking, if you're a Christian or even not, you've at least heard of these superpowers, like everyone knows of Samson.
Right.
So
yeah.
It's one of those things where I was like, dude, if you did something that was like based in that arena, and it's not superheroes like over the top superheroes. It's basically like a Western. The main character, Ulima, comes to town. She has the gift of knowledge and wisdom. So it's based on like the Bible has like the evangelical gifts. So like healing, being able to see spirits. And then like you do have like Samson, which isn't one of the evangelical gifts. It's a film. Like we're not trying to make it.
You can bend it a little
have
bit.
A little fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the thing I keep saying to people is it's Christian based because there's no lesson. My problem with Christian movies is they're always trying to teach you something. You can smell that a mile away and you're like, oh, they're going to get divorced. Then he's going to feel okay. And then I get it. This is just supposed, like, it's a good thing. It's just based in those Christian beliefs. And I think it's cool because you could introduce people to a ton of stuff. Like, have you seen Moon Knight? The Moon Knight with Disney?
Yeah. Marvel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marvel. Yeah.
My kids have been they watched that when it came out.
Yeah.
They were all like, wow. I was never into Moon Knight as a kid, so I didn't know what it was. But in the same way, Moon Knight introduced people to all those Egyptian gods and Egyptian things.
Right.
Is it converting people to that? No. But it is planting seeds. It's planting interest.
Makes you
people
think.
Like, ooh.
Yeah.
And my point with this project was always like, as a Christian, I think it would be cool because you're doing something based in all of those principles in a way. And I'm also making people go, oh, wow, is that in the Bible? Is that something that's there?
Yeah.
Maybe it's plant some seeds. But the truth is, it's just supposed to be a good story. So it's like a thriller. So Lima comes to town. She has those 2 gifts. She finds people with other gifts. And then what happens is she kind of puts together a team. And then she has to figure out why she's there. And if the writer's any good, you think you know. And then at the end, there's a twist.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, yeah.
But they try to stop like an act of evil. Like, they know they're there to stop an act of evil. They kind of have to figure that out. What's cool about it, I think, is the next. So then you have your first season ends. And then the second season, she goes to a new town. So again, it's like the spaghetti Western.
Yeah.
She goes to a new town. She gets a new group of people.
New group, okay.
And then it's things. So I think it would be just this really cool like series. It would stay fresh. It has a little bit of Mandalorian sort of feel to it, like that like kind of gunslinger. It's not overly expensive to shoot. I could shoot it all in the area here. I really thought people here would get behind it though. And unfortunately I found like, it's funny, like if you're in Lebanon, and a friend of mine said to me who's a business person, so I did the posters.
Yes. The cutouts. Yeah.
And there's like a free giveaway if there was a QR code you could hit, and you actually got a free necklace, which is the necklace she's wearing in the poster.
That's cool. Yeah.
I thought so. So, yeah. But I talked to a business friend of mine, and he's like, I'm telling you, people aren't going to care. And I'm like, seriously? So we had him up multiple places.
Yes.
Nobody cared. Like, nobody did.
Nothing?
No. Like, and like, the donor box never got any traction. And that actually because a family friend who's like super generous and nice, and they just really liked the idea of what I was doing. Thankfully, they ended up donating to the project enough. I think out of the $15,000, I might have ended up raising like $2,500 at the most through basically friends and family. Like the mall scene was supposed to be much bigger, and it would have been really cool, much bigger. We just didn't have a budget to pay people. If you're going to have 25 extras, you need people to wrangle 25 extras. You need people to do stuff. And it's just, we never had, I never got the support. And I'm not blaming Lebanon. It's just one of those things, like personally, I've never figured out how to motivate people. But we ended up doing it because, again, like I'm too stupid to nod. And you have to some degree, when you said about the multiple projects, you have to keep multiple balls in the air, because the truth is you don't know which one will hit. And then if something does hit, great, you have other things to come up behind it. And we got it out there, and PureFlix was looking at it. I was going back and forth with her. I don't think she was high level. I mean, you could still hear from them. The producer out of Philly that I've used before, he's funny because he kind of dabbles still, and it's the way the world works. And he just recently, a month ago, I sent him Diaconia and the other piece you were talking about, This Is Why I Believe. I wrote that up as like a documentary style for it, because I'd like to turn it into a documentary, that project. And he has somebody that's looking for religious, like faith-based content.
Oh.
You don't know.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. You don't know. Like, could something hit tomorrow?
I see what you're saying.
Or could we chat in 10 years? And I'm doing 3 other weird projects, and these never went anywhere. Like, it's very possible.
You never know what's going to stick. It's like spaghetti on a wall.
Exactly. What's going to hit? What's going to take off? And like I was saying earlier, the world the way it is right now, especially so in 2007, it got crazy because digital media, people could make stuff. Yeah, now people are making stuff on their phones.
Yeah.
And like there's so much TikTok and social media. Back then, there wasn't much social media. MySpace.
Right, I remember
20,000 followers on MySpace.
Wow, dude, that's big time. Yeah.
Back then, it wasn't bad. My job
Seriously.
that gave me time allowed me to connect a lot. And think about yourself, like when you look, like how much can you absorb in a day with all these streaming series, like services? How do you keep track of Paramount, Disney, HBO, this, that? It's a shame because we don't have shared experiences anymore. Back in the day, like you knew like everyone was going to watch X, or someone's like, have you seen this? Well, you could be like, no, but I've heard of it. There's so much stuff now. People are like, hey, have you seen? You're like what platform is it on?
Right.
Like I don't even like, okay.
It's like the movie theaters are stuff's everywhere.
It's so diluted. There's no shared experiences generally, which is as somebody who wants to make films as a filmmaker, it's kind of depressing because how do you get your anything? I've said to my wife, there's really no movie stars anymore. Brad Pitt is kind of the last generation of movie stars because anyone younger than him, there's so many people. Like you can't keep track of them all, and it's kind of like, eh. Anyway, we did Diaconia. I'm still pushing it. Right now, I said to my wife, I am a little like, it was kind of a heartbreaker at the moment because but again, anything can still happen with it.
Right.
But I get there again, I really thought this was going to get some traction. it is what it is, and it still has a chance. And again, I'm not totally giving up. But in the meantime, I needed to kind of shift a little. So I started this project called This Is Why I Believe. It's just basically the question is, like, I say to people, I don't want your testimonial. I don't know, like, if you're a person of faith or not, but like at churches, a lot of times people give like a testimonial.
Right.
And I was like, I didn't want to do something that's like people's just testimonials. We've heard testimonials. I'm like, but like, why do you believe in God? Like, you know, just that's the question. Like, why do you believe in God? And people, it's funny, they look at you and they'll go, that's kind of different than, and I'm like, right. Like, well, why do you believe in God? Because I was at church and the pastor said something about like, you know, why do you believe in God? And I was just like, it's weird. Like, and some people just grew up with it.
Yeah.
But yet at some point they had to make the decision, this is what I want to believe.
What was the moment? Yeah.
Some people had traumatic instances. I forget how many I've done so far. So what I'd like to do with that is like partner with, say, churches and have them sponsor them. But like, it'd be amazing to get all different kinds of people, you know, into it and get like, why, you know, why does this person believe? Why do you believe? Because it does just vary so much. But one of my goals was to hopefully like try to get it. So like Encounter Church in Palmyra sponsored a series. For churches, it's a really good tool to build community in the church, because they would show them then and like, or tease them on Sundays. Like I'd cut like a minute teaser for some of them. Then he was directing them to the site. And it was a way for people in the church, because a lot of churches are so big, you don't know everybody. Kind of like, wow, that's a neat story.
You know them on more of a personal level, maybe.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's a great way to build community in a church. But also it gets these really cool stories out there
that you never would have known.
Right. And the stories actually, right from the get-go, I'm getting between like 700 and like 1,500 views.
Wow.
Which,
phenomenal.
It's not easy, you know, like,
oh no, I know how it is.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Like, but it's funny. Some people are just like, yeah. And I'm like, no, like,
that's a big deal.
hard to do.
Yeah.
But I can't keep doing them for free. So I did like a whole series for free.
Yeah.
And I did like some more for free, and then Encounter sponsored at a highly reduced rate. So I am actually looking at a highly reduced rate to get some other churches involved or groups that want to do it. But I think like they have such a good chance to just take off. And then the main thing I'm doing now, other than that, is tell them I'm sorry. And that was a piece that started in working with Amish Mafia people.
Yeah.
Overnight. And Robin Williams died. And I was thinking to myself, you know, you think, like, why did people kill themselves? You know, like he killed himself.
That hit a lot of people hard when Robin Williams, I mean,
it was weird.
He was the genie. Yeah, he was always so happy. Right, no, I didn't know him on a personal level, but, like, you connected with him through his movies and his voiceovers. It's like...
And he was just such, like you said, a genius. He's so creative. And you were like, you know, and I was thinking to myself, I'm like, you know, you always wonder, like, why?
Yeah.
You know, like, why?
Because
like,
you never find that out.
Did they leave a note? What happened was I said something to my wife. I go, what if you did a script of people talking about why they were planning to commit suicide? And she looked at me and she went, no, just no.
Yeah.
And I go, okay, there's something to this.
Right.
I'm like, if she doesn't like it this much. And then I really started digging in, and I was looking up statistics and I was looking up stuff. And what surprised me was I didn't realize, and most people don't realize, who's most at risk. You know, freshmen in college are like a super high rate of suicide.
Really?
You don't know this because you just don't know. And I had early on when I moved back, there was a project with a local woman whose son had passed. Unfortunately, he was a freshman in college and he was of that number. And I had no idea at the time. And Asher was a baby. Yeah. And it hit me in a way that I always kind of hung to it. Like the story was like, as I was doing the research, I wrote a script, and it's 8 people, and they all fit the different demographics. You know, people with like terminal illnesses, older people over 85. There's just all these people, obviously vets.
Yeah.
You know, they have a very high rate of suicide. So I wrote for like the highest levels, that the people that were like by numbers. So what I did is I wrote 8 basically short interviews with 8 people, and it plays like a documentary. So what's neat about it and weird about it, it's a weird project in the sense, one, what it deals with. And it kind of, when I wrote it, I had the idea, I wrote it, and then I basically put it out to people in the mental health industry. I put it out to people like survivors that wanted to read it. I cautioned them, and I had like this local guy who had his own project going. He read it, and people kept coming back to me over the years. I tried to get it off the ground. I couldn't. It's an interview with all these different people that fit these categories. The concept is they came in to talk to you, to talk to the people about why they're considering this. So you have to sell that. Like you can't, there's no B-roll. Like we're not going to get them walking down the street.
Right.
There's no hero shots of them standing there.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's basically they start out on this metal chair. There's a chair with them that they bring something with them. much like you, sir.
Yeah, they bring an item. Right.
Did you steal this from me?
Who stole it from who? No.
Yeah.
The Spider-Man.
You have no evidence. Yeah.
Right.
And basically they tell you, and it's them telling their story, kind of like 8 shorts that are all interviews that are all tied together. And at the end of each interview, it'll give you the date of their birth, and if they died, the date of their death and how they died.
Oh, wow.
Which is what's weird. But at the same time, like as I was talking to people, because I didn't want it to be exploitive and I wanted to make sure it wasn't, there's a human response to that.
Yes,
and I
sure.
think when you see this, it's going to be that first one that comes up. It's like, oh, wait a minute. And again, it plays like a documentary. So if it's a feature film, I don't like if people know it's not a documentary right away, it's not going to have that power. I think though, but if you put it out like a documentary, you watch that first one, it only takes about 8 minutes to watch. And when it pops up, and to be honest, the first person does die. And then there's that reaction of as soon as the next person pops up in your brain, you're going,
you got to find out.
But yeah, you're going to want to, and I think in that sense, it's going to work as a project. And in the better sense, and the real reason I'm really pushing it is like all these people keep coming back to me and they're going like, you need to make this. They're like, you need to make this. And suicide's going up like crazy through COVID.
Yes.
And depression.
Oh my gosh,
I mean, it's something, and it's one of those, again, it's kind of a boomerang. It keeps coming back. So I finally was like, I said to my wife, I was like, this is what I'm doing next.
Yeah.
Like I can't move Diaconia forward right now because I'm going to convert it maybe to the thought of like doing a feature out of it and do a feature script for it in case, because it's just cheaper. But I said to her, this winter we're shooting Tell Them I'm Sorry. I don't know how. And she was just like, okay. She's like, yeah. I was like, and it's one of those things. So I have a donor box to raise money. It's at $65,000. I don't need all that to like, again, I'm looking for enough to pay crew, pay talent. Mm-hmm. Like the actors that do this, I have it out to some people I know who are shooting me reels. Like they shot me videos. Like they've done auditions on tape. And there's one girl I definitely want to bring in and have her do it in person. It's going to be such a hard piece. You need to know, and also the commitment they need to have to do it. I don't want to ask people to do this for free. Like it's all the pieces are really hard, and it's 8 minutes. It's it's about 8-9 pages where you're doing a monologue.
Wow.
So that's not easy. And actually, originally I wanted 125 to do it because I wanted to be able to cast it all out of New York and cast New York talent because it is such a hard piece. But that's like, again, it's more money, more problems. And I've met some really talented people here, and I know I can find the people to do it and pay them something they're happy with. But yet we can do it for $65,000. And then the crew, you need crew for it. Like I'm going to actually, one of the ways I want to shoot this is to keep it moving is I'm going to do like 2 takes on it, but we're going to have probably 6 to 7 cameras rolling.
Holy cow.
On every take.
Really?
So because that way, because like when I do We're 11 PA videos, which I know we kind of jumped over, but that's my positivity project. I do those for free for local business, artists, and nonprofits. And they're like 3 to 5 minute little videos. They come into the studio.
It's a feel-good project for sure.
It's to basically raise positivity.
Yeah.
Like it's my project to help raise positivity.
Because Lebanon County is a pretty great area.
There's so many amazing people here, and it's so hard to hate a place when you see people like the one person I interviewed moved here from Germany.
Yeah.
And she's made a life here, and she didn't like her husband. Actually, she met her husband who was from a different part of Germany, I think. No, serious. They both work at Bayer. And
what?
She met
Small world. Yeah, mine's down there. Yeah.
And I was like, what? And she's like, yeah. So, but like when you see people move here, it's hard to hate a place. So it started out as like 1-2 cameras to get a close up and a wide, sometimes 3 cameras, and it's all in the studio because then I can manage it. And it's not like to go on location, you need more people. And realistically, to do the quality level I want to do is very hard to do as a one-man band. So I tend to do them in the studio. I can light it, and then I can have like 4, 5, 6 people, and then I have them in the can. And then over like the next month or 2, I'll just then like, hey, I have time. I'll quick cut one. And then for that, I do special things like the Courtney Stauffer series. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah.
But that seemed important too. Like to me, it was. And I knew her family because they went to church where I went to church. And I knew her grandmother. And you could pull in, there was a sticker that said, where's Courtney? Like a Courtney sticker on the back of her grandma's car that was all faded. Yeah. And I was kind of like, and so we did that project. And that did get some leads, which is great. But, it didn't break the case wide open, which we hoped.
Right.
But, so I do that through We're 11 PA. And like We're 11 PA, I'm also putting out the I've been sharing a lot of the, like, this is why I believe things. So I kind of do use that to promote the other free stuff I do. So it's similar though to the We Are Lebanon PA things, except the thing is when you do those for 3 minutes and what they are, people are interested in those because it's local. A lot of times,
right?
Dude, those get between 1,000 and 3,000 views. And
I think they're phenomenal.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah.
And Bob at Quesadillas.
Okay, yes.
Dude, he's so nice. He's so funny. He came in.
Yeah.
I always say to people, like, tag this, tag that, give me things to tag because that helps spread the spider
definitely,
webs.
for sure.
He had nothing. I was like, well, whatever. This one might be a throwaway, like.
I see what you're saying. Yeah. Because you have a mindset like, oh, okay, I'm interviewing this person. Oh, they give me all these places of people to tag.
Where'd you go to college? Where'd you go to this?
Yeah.
If I can tag Cedar Crest even or Lebanon High School, and then
it gets the views, it spreads it. 100%.
Kutztown. Yeah, because it'll start to get on their radar.
Exactly.
Colleges love something that it's like, look, like student did good.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
Look where they're at now.
Right.
Correct.
So it can help, right?
Yep.
And I'm like, well, whatever. And Bob doesn't, I don't think, have a real big social media footprint.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, whatever. Dude, his I think has the record. He's like, well, Courtney's have the record. Like some of hers were over 25 or 30,000, I think, maybe more. But his for just a normal We Are Lebanon PA, right off the gate, like it ended up doing like 15,000 views, and over time, I forgot. I thought it was up to like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
But like people, it was the funniest thing. People were like, Bob's the best, or like quesadillas, and people were like, I moved to Arizona, I can't wait to come back though, and I'm gonna go there. And that was like really cool. So they're fun, and they're just great. A great way to lift positivity. The short version with that is right before we moved back, Nancy met this girl, went into a jewelry store next to the Allen Theater, and this girl was there, and she's like, Nancy always had a look like she didn't come from here. Like people used to think she came from California, like in Kutztown. People were like, "You're from California?" She's like, "No." She has her own unique style, and this woman's like, this girl was like, "You're not from here, are you?" And she's like, "Well, yeah, but no, we live in North Jersey. We're moving back." And she's like, "Why would you move back here?" And Nancy was pissed because she was kind of like, there's a lot here. And that was our way with We Are Lebanon PA to kind of say, there's a lot here. This didn't show people. There's a lot here. So normally on a film, you do a scene and we have 1 or 2 cameras, like usually like 1, 2, unless you're doing a Marvel movie,
Right.
You have like 2 cameras, you have like a wide or a medium and a close up. Okay, let's do it. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again. Let's do it again. You can do it, as many times as you want nowadays with digital, but usually like you're going to do it 5, 10 times. These are not stories you get someone to do twice, like more than twice, because it's each script, each story is someone, at some point they get to that point of where they're like, really telling you, like they're cutting the vein open and saying, here's what's going on. And it's intense.
It's emotional draw probably.
Yeah. Oh, it's going to be tough for actors to do and to get the people that can get to that. Because it's also, if the writer was any good, there's points in it where they're reflective. People are kind of also telling you their lives a little bit, and hopefully people will relate to that because we cover a lot of different kinds of people. And I think that's the thing. It's people but you would never know we're at risk.
Yeah.
And
like Robin Williams. I mean, you might not know him personally, but you feel like you know him, and you never think the guy that's making you laugh is suffering like that.
And and again, that hit you out of the blind.
Yes.
You're like... Oh. And I think this has legs in other ways. Like the people at the mental health association, like different mental health associations have all been like encouraging. Yeah. Actually, next week I'm re-meeting with them because Lebtown's doing a story and they wanted to talk to some of the people I had talked to about it.
Fantastic. Yeah.
Well, I reached out to them. I don't know. It was probably 6 years ago. And they're like, hey, well, can you meet with us again? Because we kind of forget what you're, and I was like, sure. And I sent them the script. And I even actually, to try to get this going, I even put the script online, like that you could download it on LinkedIn. And I love your LinkedIn, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you for just liking my stuff as well. Because you need that motion to make, what is it? Like motion creates emotion kind of thing. Like you need
a small stone in a pond, makes ripples and makes big ripples, Yeah,
definitely. I appreciate the support.
Any way to support, exactly. A like, a share, because you never know. A comment, like how that'll affect someone's day or who it'll get, that piece of media in front of. If you share it with somebody, you never know.
Exactly. Like you get someone in your circle, if they says you put a like on it, they go, what do you put a like on? And again, this business and life in general, it's right place, right time, right doors open. Yeah. So, but anyway, this project is just it's gonna happen. I can do it with less money like I did Diaconia. I'm hoping not to have to.
Right.
Jim actually has said he knows about it, and he said to me, he goes, so when we shoot in Lebanon at the studio, if it's Tuesday, we are definitely hitting up Taco Tuesday at Snitz Creek.
Yeah.
Like their tacos are baller. And it's always like the crew's always like if it's Tuesday, like, dude, I'm like, we're doing Taco Tuesday.
You already know.
And he's like, He's like, dude, he's like, yeah, he's like, you got to make that, man. He goes, I'll do it for tacos. He goes, if I have to.
That's awesome.
But
Shout out to Jim.
Oh, dude, and it's great to have that support. But at the same time, like, he's a professional, and you know, you need to pay people. But I think I'm excited about it too, because the people that have read it from a mental health kind of perspective have all been encouraging. But anyway, that's what I've been working on currently.
Okay.
Thank you so much. And I'm sorry, I don't know what time it is. I like to chat though, and I know we went way over, but it's been really cool talking.
It has,
with you.
Eric.
Do you have any other questions?
So like
that I didn't ramble through?
Yeah, let's take a sip break. This sip break is brought to you by Cleona Coffee Roasters, a small batch coffee roastery and coffee shop, veteran and first responder owned and community oriented. All coffee is roasted fresh to order. Now open every day from 5:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. Located inside 911 Rapid Response in Annville, PA. Because you definitely hold the record for longest podcast so far.
I hope that's yay. I mean,
it is a good thing.
Okay, cool.
I think so.
It's going fast.
And I love the topics
It's been
too.
fun chatting.
In life, what do you say you're most passionate about?
You know, and it's funny, as you get older, like, I think it changes so much. At this point in life, I mean, it would be faith, my faith. I'm a Christian. Most passionate, it's God, then family, then film. So it's kind of goes.
If you didn't say Phil, might be worried.
Yeah. I mean, it's you know, I mean, when I was younger, yeah, it was obviously you prioritize differently, but I feel like God's been working with me over the past 10 years a lot, where, you know, that perspective of like, well, what's important. I always thought I'd do something big, and at this point, I realize, I mean, that's what I'm doing. That's the biggest thing, is like, you know, what I'm leaving behind as far as like my kids and my faith, and like what am I doing to help, you know, kind of that, like, you know, so it's, yeah, that would be that.
Speed round on what items you brought. I think it's my name on the DVD, which
yeah, I know.
Okay.
It seems kind of like being like your how do you do, and I'm not how do you do. But people just always do seem to like when I'll write something on the DVDs.
Yeah.
So I just wrote you a little thing there, and then on the DVD, and then inside I got you some stickers.
Oh, cool.
And this was something we used to market it.
And that's mine. I can keep it.
Yeah.
That's one of the 900.
No, this is for you. Yep.
Sweet. Oh,
Yep.
thank
so you
you.
get your own DVD.
Oh, nice.
And it's fun to give to people. So
thank you.
Yeah, and I try to write something half normal and then
that.
usually half ridiculous somewhere.
Yeah.
So this is kind of fun. It's like the swag you got.
Austin, watch out for Billy.
There you go.
Ooh, I gotta find
out. If you haven't seen it,
I haven't.
You'll know.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. So I got my own copy of The Creek. Phenomenal. Yeah.
And then the 12 Bells, the prequels.
Yeah, I want to look that
I got
up.
the one where we did the showing at the Allen, so it has the information on the back, and it even says, like, you know, in the tradition of early film serials, because early film serials, they'd have those little pieces in the beginning of films.
Snippets, those little clips. Yeah.
And they would come together. So I want to give you that. And then here, this was an original, what they called sales sheet. So this went out to all the distributors when they were trying to sell the movie. They'd send them out these things for them to like want to buy it.
Yeah.
So I did that, and I just wrote something fun on there for you. Or
Very
silly
cool.
or
Yeah,
stupid.
yeah.
You know, because you were saying, like, what's your career? Well, my career in a lot of ways, like, so I have then a headshot. This was like my last one. Because I started acting, and I actually, acting and writing kind of happened at the same time. And then we did The Creek. So kind of like acting, writing, and then I have the tell them I'm sorry and you can keep this.
I can keep. That's a script. I can keep it.
Yeah, you can keep the script for tell them I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh man, I love when guests bring me gifts. Like, it's definitely not mandatory, but it's so cool because it's like, it's like history. You know, it's like, not only did we have a great conversation, you know, but like now I have something to like always remember this talk and share with like friends and family. I mean, people that come in all the time, I'm always sharing stuff with them. So
cool.
So okay, cool. So this is actual script. This looks so legit too.
It is. That's what they look like. Those are you said bring stuff, but also I thought I'd bring gifts at the same time. But yeah, it kind of encapsulates like the past. It's crazy, but 25 years has been doing The Creek and acting. It was acting, doing The Creek, doing 12 Bells, and then Tell Them I'm Sorry is just the most recent, you know, kind of thing. And I think it's really cool. So, you know, give it a read, pass it around for it. You know what I mean?
Thank you.
Thank you for having me in. Yeah, it's great what you're doing. I appreciate what you're doing too, because like We Are Lebanon, PA, you're talking at least 4 hours per video.
I believe it.
And that's, So it's a commitment, and what you're doing too, it helps promote the community, and it's helping bring that positivity to Lebanon. And,
exactly.
And I feel like it's funny when you did it, I was kind of like, cool, because it's similar to, I think, to my idea. And that whole thing is, give people a promotion. And then after that, I say to them, like, plug your business, plug your nonprofit, or plug your art, because it just gives them that outlet to try to like do it, but you're raising positivity at the same time.
Yeah.
And with what you're doing, it's so similar in that sense of like, you're introducing people to the amazing people who are here, who are doing neat and interesting things.
Yeah.
And there's so many people here doing cool things that you just don't know about.
There are.
You know?
Yeah. And I mentioned it for like the listeners that listen to every episode. Thank you. And, redundant, but everyone has a story. I truly believe that. And some people are like, no, it's not that interesting. I'm like, well, look, you have a story. You lived a life. Like, what do you do? Let's talk, And then sometimes they get going. It's like, what do you mean you don't have a story? Like, look, listen to you. Look what you've done. Look what you've achieved. Or look at the hardships you've been through. So I truly believe everyone has a story. And I started this as just like, know so many people through work with Blue Card Photography and Colortech, being in sales, and friends and family, that I'm like, I want to give people a platform that they can come and share, share their story. And I just don't have that high-end video. I just do the audio part, and I'm learning video on my own, because everything is self-taught, like the editing on GarageBand and everything. I mean, these are Joe Rogan quality mics, but I'm learning as I go.
Did you look up his setup?
I actually did. Yeah, I did some extensive research on the setup. Everything I did, I looked up, because I'm like, okay, if I'm going to do this, like, the sound has to be good. The quality has to be good. I mean, that's what it's all about. How can our listeners, connect and follow along? And if they did want to donate to, support, tell them I'm sorry, like, how can they do that?
We are on all the major platforms with all the stuff like Annubis Productions, and tell them I'm sorry. I like other projects I've broken out, like Diaconia has its own Facebook page.
Okay.
But there's still stuff you can find with it off the Annubis site, or our website is annubisproductions.com. Our Facebook is Annubis Productions on Facebook. We are a blue check mark on X now.
Whoa, that's official.
It's funny. I hate Twitter. I don't understand it.
I don't either.
I think I'm too old for it. You're younger than me.
I know,
so.
but I can't get it. I don't understand.
Well, I don't feel bad then as much. Okay, yes.
No, I feel like a lot of people don't get it.
I don't get Twitter at all, but I'm like, I was actually putting advertising dollars into something else, and when Elon Musk did the $8 thing, I was like, I'm getting me a blue check mark. Like, I'm reallocating funds.
You can't beat it, right?
Because for $8, I go to my wife when I didn't tell her, and it finally came through. I was like, Nancy, who's a blue check mark? And she was like, you're an idiot. And I was like, I know. But so we're on Twitter or X, Annubis Productions, Instagram, Annubis Productions. We're on all the major stuff, and tell them I'm sorry. I'm posting on all that stuff.
Okay.
And really everything, and Diaconia and everything all gets funneled through everything. And you can go to, it's donorbox.com, I think, / tell them I'm sorry. But if you honestly just go to any of our pages, I have it pinned to the top.
Okay.
Like the donor box for it. And it's just like any other giving site, it's just to raise money. If you donate, it'll give you access to our blog, which is really going a little deeper into what we're doing, when we're doing it, and all that.
Yeah.
And then when you hit a certain point, I think there's a t-shirt, or like you get a t-shirt, and then you can also then, if you want to be a producer on it because you feel like this is an important topic, there's higher marks you can hit. And of course, if someone is somebody's rich uncle and they would like to, get involved in a bigger way and be a partner in it. I mean, obviously I just want to make it. I think it needs made, and I think there's a lot of legs for it, but I don't, again, I don't have a rich uncle.
I know, you never know. I mean, who knows who's listening out there?
Or someone that wants to get involved in film. There are people that just love movies and want to get involved and want to be part of it. And there is some where you donate, you can be on set for a day. But honestly, if somebody, wanted to be involved in a deeper way, I would love to work with them, and they could, wanted to be the producer behind it that has the money. Yeah. I mean, that would be amazing.
You're willing to work with that.
Yeah, be partners. I mean, I'm not classy. I just want to make a movie, man. Yeah. Like, I just want to make this movie. You're the creative, because I think it really, again, like, it's that boomerang. People just kept coming back to me, and I finally just was like, we got to figure it out. So so there's all different ways you can get involved that way with it, or reach out to me if there's something you want to get involved with it and have an idea. So
Erik Soulliard, filmmaker, owner of Annubis Productions on the American Grown podcast in the Colortech Creative Solutions studios. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you.
To see photos of today's guests and more content, just search American Grown Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe and leave a review.
If you'd like to be a featured guest on the podcast, please direct message or email Austin at AmericanGrownPod@gmail.com.